everybody. This is the first official episode of the podcast Project Lightwaves. We are a podcast dedicated to anything and everything related to the company Square Enix. Today, I am one of your hosts, Chastity, and I'm here with my co-host, Joe. How are you doing today, Joe?
Hello, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a very exciting couple of weeks as, a fan of Square Enix, whether you like Final Fantasy
Yep.
or you like Dragon Quest. So how are you feeling as, the season of the Summer of Games or E3 is coming upon us?
Well, I'll feel just the same as every season before E3. This is the time for leaks, and wouldn't you know it? Just like Final Fantasy VII Remake leaked before it was announced the first time, and when it came back again and during the state of play, it leaked again, and for 16 too, the same happened this time. But we're used to it. By now, it's still great. Like I can't complain. I will still be excited to see it during the conference. Maybe even more excited now that I know what it's going to be. How about you?
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited, and I guess just, to explain for anybody who might be listening to this and is not fully in the know,
Yeah.
um, recently it was leaked that there will be a Final Fantasy spin-off game. It's believed to be titled Final Fantasy Origin, and it's supposed to be set in the first Final Fantasy world based off the very first game in the series.
Yep.
We don't really know if it's like a prequel or we don't really know the context of like when it's supposed to take place, but we just know it's in that world and it's supposed to be dark and violent, and it's supposed to be kind of like a Souls-like game. So,
Yes.
Joe, I'm gonna throw it back to you, where about the article that
Yes, I'll
Enron.
read a small part of the article. All right, so the rumor states that Square Enix is working with Team Ninja, Koei Tecmo's in-house development team behind games like Ninja Gaiden, Nioh, and perhaps most relevantly, the latest entry in the Final Fantasy fighting game series, Dissidia NT. The posted rumors go on further by assigning the game a genre, something akin to Nioh or Souls games, and suggesting it takes place somewhere in or adjacent to the world of the first Final Fantasy game on the NES. You can read the rest of the article on Fanbyte. It goes on to say that it's going to be announced this year, possibly very soon, and that a demo will be released this summer. And like you said, it's probably going to be named Final Fantasy Origin. What do you think?
Well, I guess for me, it's like it's always kind of exciting and interesting when they try to do new things with the Final Fantasy
Yeah,
IP.
this is definitely new. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like regardless of like, if this was a game I would normally play, like to be, transparent, I don't play like Souls like game. Like I've never played like Dark Souls. I've never played like Bloodborne. I'm not really experienced with those games, but I appreciate them, like taking a chance. And I think either the article or the person who originally leaked this whole thing was a member on Resetera, Naftra. I think she mentioned that there might be difficulty options for people, which I appreciate because I don't want to play a super hard game. So how do you feel about it, Joe?
I'm kind of excited. Like I'm not a big Souls or Neo for that matter a player, but I'm always just like you excited when the series tries something new, and this is definitely new for the series. I think it's great that they're using the setting of the first Final Fantasy, especially if they intend to release it next year for
Mhm.
the 35th anniversary. I think that's a
Mhm.
good
Exactly.
choice.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Also, I'm happy that the setting is not Ivalice, like it was first. The first leak mentioned that it was possibly from this world, which I wasn't a fan of.
Mhm.
Thankfully, it was later deconfirmed, and I was relieved and excited again for the game. Uh, what would you have liked another setting?
Um, no, because I mean, my whole take was that just don't do a world that we've
Ivalice. Don't do
revisited multiple
Ivalice.
times. Yeah. I think I say it like Evilise. That's how I've always said it.
Ivalice? Well,
Yeah, like I've always
that's
said
how
it like.
much I care about it, I guess. Ivalice.
Yeah, that's completely valid. Yeah, so like I didn't really want to visit Evilise. I didn't really want to. I don't. I know technically it's sometimes called Gaia, but I always associated the planet named Gaia with nine,
Oh,
and
yeah.
um because with seven, I think in like spin off like in the sequel movie and stuff, I think that's when they gave the planet a
Well, yeah.
name and it was like Gaia or something.
It's known as Ivalice. It's the
Yeah,
word from 12, so it's okay, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. 12 is Evilise, and
And
then like
which has been overused a lot, even before
yeah,
12. So
yeah, exactly.
it's cool
And
that
with
it's not
seven,
they stopped. Yeah, and yeah, I
yeah,
wouldn't have wanted, even if I love 7, I wouldn't have wanted another game from that world. Like, especially these times, I think we've had enough.
yeah, like I feel like seven, like my personal take, like I don't want to get too much into like the remake, but
Yeah,
my personal take is that like the remake should be kind of like a swan song for like seven as a whole. Like
yeah,
I don't think we
yeah.
should
It
get
should.
like
It definitely won't be. They're going to milk it for as long as they can. But yeah, you're right.
yeah, like I think like we shouldn't get like more sequels and prequels from like seven after this. Like I
Definitely,
think like
yes. Yeah.
yeah, like I think the only time you see Cloud and friends should be like in cameos and other stuff. I think that I like that property specifically really needs to be rested after the remake. Even though I love the world, I love the characters, but like please
Sure.
give other games
Yeah.
attention.
Yes.
So
Some
I
games
think
didn't
I
have anything. Like maybe the only settings to have had different games are 7 and 12. Uh,
in 10 a little bit,
10
yeah.
a little bit. It deserves more. I love 10's world.
Mhm.
Other settings are also fans' favorite, like the world in 6, 8, or 9,
Mhm.
and also
Mhm.
deserve to have the spotlight. That's why, like, I really don't want to go back to Ivalice, whatever.
Yeah. It's as long as this sounds good to you, it's perfectly
It,
fine. I'm sure
however I
there'll
say
be
it,
12 fans.
it'll never sound good anyway. So
Yeah, but I totally agree with you. Like we're definitely on the same page with that because I I think that's the reason why this whole the setting for this game appeals to me because
yes,
I know technically Dissidia kind of like connected itself to like the world of
yeah,
Final
right,
Fantasy One, but
and it makes sense, like
mhm
if they want to go back to the roots of the franchise, in order to release something for to celebrate it. I think it's great that they're going to the first one, even if it's not happening in the first one per se. If it's the events that lead to the first Final Fantasy, it's also great, I think.
I agree, and like you said, it's also like a perfect tie-in to like the anniversary as a whole because like I'm gonna be very transparent. The last anniversary, like the 30th anniversary, that whole it was kind of garbo. It wasn't
Yes.
that great.
Yeah, the
It
30th,
was
I
not.
think we had, they gave us a render for Final Fantasy VII Remake at the time,
Yes,
and that
it was
was
a whole
it.
bunch of nothing.
That was it, yes.
That and then they announced very expensive Final Fantasy wine that I don't even think we could even
The
get like
wine, the
people
wine. How
outside
could
of
I forget?
Japan.
Yes, the wine.
Yeah, like that was the one thing I remember. It was that like they got on stage and they were like showing off
Yeah.
wine, and I'm like,
Mm,
what are y'all doing?
yes.
But
Yes. Yes.
anyway, so I
Well,
feel like just
Square Enix is
the
not great with anniversaries as a whole, so
no.
this time I hope they do right by this franchise.
Yeah, like I guess just to do our like final thoughts on this, I will say that like I'm excited to see it. I think my one concern is the art direction, just
Yeah,
because
it
I
also,
do.
I don't know if you've seen the post on Reset Era. The art is supposedly by Nomura.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think with that is that to me I feel like that could be anything because it's like, well, what if he decided to kind of
yeah,
go back to his roots where
right. It
he did
wasn't.
monsters? So
We didn't have much details. He could be doing just monsters or something. We don't know.
yeah, because I do feel like I I do feel like this would be a very good chance to kind of like get like not a weird like um I guess like some of
Something
the old
unusual.
like art. Yeah, like I feel like a lot of people have wanted like a Final Fantasy game that like captures like the weird Amano
Well,
or Amano
if you
art.
think about it, I don't think he's ever designed anything for something so dark and gritty like it's supposed to be. So
Yeah.
maybe he or whoever is designing this will give us something we haven't seen before in the franchise. Hopefully,
Yeah, I think um to me I think the thing is I actually kind of would like something that man, because when I think of like Souls games, I think of like edgy and dark, and it would be
yes.
kind of cool to have that
Especially
kind of not
since it's the designers of Neo, which is also pretty grim and dark and lacks colors.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and I think it would be nice if like we did get a like a game in that style, but it was bright and colorful, but you
yeah.
just happen to be like
I
chopping
think
people's arms off and
it's not
stuff.
happening this time. I think, but yes, I agree. I would have liked that too. Something like
Yeah,
World of Final Fantasy, maybe another
yeah,
one.
like yeah, like something that had like, or even like Spira, like we talked about how like Tim's world has a lot of color,
Yeah,
so it doesn't seem like based on leaks the game will look like that, but I hope whatever it looks like, it just has like a really nice aesthetic and like it has nice design choices.
yeah. And I've read a lot that people weren't fans of the graphics in Team Ninja games.
Mm-hmm.
I've checked a couple of screenshots and some gameplay. I It's not great. I'm not going to say that it's like the best looking game ever, but Neo 2, for
Mm-hmm.
example, has some cool environments that you I would like to see in a Final Fantasy game.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are not, the models all are not great either, but they're serviceable, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
they can look pretty anime at times, but there's also you can also create with the character creator some realistic ones. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you've checked the character creator.
I haven't like I really just have seen like pictures of the game. Like I
Yeah,
actually didn't know it had like a character creator at all.
Oh yeah, I'm. That's what I'm expecting for the spin-off as well, to have that
Yeah,
the
me too.
same
Yeah.
character creator, but for next gen, which will
Mhm.
look even better. Uh, it didn't look bad. I kind of was impressed with how some character looked.
Mhm.
The color tone also seemed to be on point from my
Mhm.
perspective, at least. Uh, that's what I thought, but I would definitely would like your input on it if you get the chance to check it sometimes.
Yeah, like I'll definitely check out the character creator because that was gonna be like the last thing I was gonna say was that like I definitely expect there to be a character creator, which I think is cool. Like, let me be my own little warrior of light or like
Yes.
whoever we're playing as.
Yep. Yep. Would
Yeah,
be great.
yeah. So yeah, I think we're easily both excited. I guess the real question is, will we both be able to play it when it actually comes out? Because like I don't have a PS5, and I
What's
don't think you have a
what's a,
PS5 either,
what's a
right?
what's a PS5?
I don't know.
This
I don't know.
legendary console everyone keeps talking about. I've never seen
we're
it.
we're
I've
we're peasants that can't.
yes.
They don't want to grace us with one.
Sony.
But yeah, so that's kind of been, even with 16. That's kind of been like my concern is like, am I gonna be able to like play this game
16
like day one?
intergrade every
I've given
Square
up on
Enix.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I already written off episode Yuffie. I was like, yeah, like I'm not playing that day one. Like
Anytime
I'll
soon. Yes.
yeah, like I've kind of already like just decided like whenever part two is coming, and I'll probably replay like the first part, and I'll
Hmm.
just
Yeah. That's
when I
smart.
hopefully
That's
have a
smart.
PS5.
Actually,
Yeah,
yes.
like I'll just yeah, like that's just my plan. Just replay the game, and then finally play episode Yuffie, and
Yeah.
that'll be like a nice bridge
Since
into like part
it's
two.
probably going to be very short anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Smart.
and especially not to go off on a like tangent about Square Enix and their DLC practices, but for Mind, that was like $30, and I know people
Yeah.
talked about
Yeah.
the
Another
the sto-
Kingdom Hearts 3 situation where
yeah,
it's 25 this time.
it's 30
Are you sure?
or 30 USD. I should clarify.
All right. I remember it was less, but okay, it's fine. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's still like maybe a little too much for what's in the DLC.
yeah, like I think like episode Yuffie hasn't come out yet, so like maybe people will be satisfied for the price, but I kind of feel like I think episode Yuffie is at that price where it's like I think this might be a little too much, but I'm okay with it. Like I think the 15 USD to like 20 USD, I think that range is like, all
Yeah.
right, I'll bite, and I think Remind should have been in that range,
Remind
and
definitely should have been in that range. Yeah, for what was inside of
yeah,
it.
yeah,
If you weren't into hard modes and the boss fights, you were shit out of luck because there wasn't that
exactly.
much.
Yeah, and that's what I am. Like, I don't want to. Like, I don't care about like doing like these hard fights to get
I
against
get it.
like
I get it.
Organization 13.
Yeah, I
So
definitely didn't. I get it. Yes.
yeah. So um, but that's a good transition to like the main topic because Kingdom
Yes.
Hearts might be on one of our lists about what will show up
Yeah,
at
it's on
E3.
mine. So if you want, you can we can read. I can read my list, and then you can read yours. And if we have some overlap, then we'll talk about the same point together.
Yeah, I think that works. So go ahead.
All right. What I definitely expect to be there are Final Fantasy 16,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Forspoken,
Yep.
New Kingdom Hearts. I don't think it will be Kingdom Hearts 4. It will most probably be a spin-off.
I agree.
A new Tokyo RPG Factory game. I think it's about that time. It's been a while since their last game, which was Lost Sphere, I guess. And I expect either to see like the Guardian of the Galaxy game from Eidos or a new Tomb Raider. I will develop on that more when I finish my list. And also Babylon's Fall. That's it.
Okay.
That's mine.
Well, are we gonna save like the one crazy one we have until we're done?
Yeah. I maybe we'll leave that for the end because mine is not even a game. So.
Oh.
Yes.
Then we'll wait.
We should probably let everyone know what we're talking about. Okay. We've decided each one of us to come up with our E3 predictions, and then also with something crazy that will probably not happen, and then maybe we'll have a bet on it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
I'll save mine. So this is my
the normal list. I'm saving my crazy prediction for after we've talked about the normal stuff.
Okay. So this is my E3 list. I think we mostly have overlap.
Yeah, there will be a lot. I knew.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So the obvious one is Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
Forspoken. I feel like with some of these I was kind of vague, like after 16 to Forspoken, because I feel like the Tomb Raider announced.
What are you, a leaker?
Because I feel like with Tomb Raider, because like Tomb Raider was my third one, but I was like Tomb Raider announcement because
okay.
I feel like
so you have it. Okay.
Yeah,
I can talk about that. Yes, cool.
But I think how I view a Tomb Raider announcement might be different than what you put, so we'll talk about that.
All right.
But then I put some type of Final Fantasy spinoff. Just because I feel like go ahead.
It wasn't on my list because I wrote the list before the leak, so I didn't want to like cheat and put the Final Fantasy spinoff. But yeah, we've already talked about it anyway. Go ahead.
Well, actually, I wrote this after the leak, but when I wrote this,
I know
I wasn't thinking of Origin. Like I'm not counting Origin.
Yeah.
Like personally, I want something else announced besides Origin.
And I think some other leak. There was some leak about another Final Fantasy spinoff.
Oh, really?
This one, yeah,
I
but
must have missed that.
not from the known source from Reset Era.
Okay, yeah, because like I said earlier when we discussed it, like I'm excited for Origin, but like there's two Pacific. You probably know what they are, but there's like two Pacific spin-off games that I want sequels to, and I want to see them. So that's why I put it there.
Okay. And then I see where this is going.
Right. And then the next one is again kind of vague, but I'll elaborate. Where I said something Nomura related, and that's because I feel like
they will announce belts.
They're just gonna throw belts at the audience. But I put something more related because I feel like I agree that we're definitely not going to see Kingdom Hearts 4 anytime soon.
Yep.
But I feel like it could go either way in terms of like them waiting to show whatever the next Kingdom Hearts game is, or they might just show like the Neo World Ends With You sequel again. And I also put, I think they'll have some type of like a major port announcement because last year, if I remember correctly, well, not last year, 2019 is when they did, they announced the Final Fantasy VIII Remaster at E3, so I think like they might
maybe
like kind of do something similar. Yeah, like it might be 13 or it might be, I don't think it'll be like Dragon Quest, but it it could be something for another series or something. But I think there will be some type of like remastered port or something that
like
they'll
like
announce, and
13
then
done in the Octopath Traveler art. You'd like that.
I feel
You
I
would
feel
love
like
that.
I feel like Final Fantasy 13 fans would like gotta go ape shit
Yeah.
if that happened.
Some people would love it. Some would be all
Some
over
people
it.
would.
Yes.
That would be kind of interesting because I do remember, I think before Lightning Returns came out, they actually did like retell like the story in like 4 minutes, but it was done like a sprite, like a 2D
Oh,
sprite
really?
style. Yeah, like
Whoa.
they did that. Like, so we've
Wow.
actually kind of have gotten like
So this might
13.
happen. All right. Okay.
Maybe there's a precedent. And my last one is that I think that there will be hints, or they'll start kind of like building up hype for the 35th anniversary. Maybe that's
Yes.
wishful
Yes.
thinking, but
Yes.
that's the last thing I put.
I think there was a leak about a collection of the first six
Mm-hmm.
games. I
Yes.
don't trust it too much, but I hope it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I personally think that one could go like either way, and I think even if it turns out to be true, Final Fantasy fans, especially like like the older, more old school fans, are
Yeah.
very like picky about which port
Well,
of the game they like.
they'd be rightfully worried because Square
Yeah.
Enix is pretty hit or miss with their remasters. But
Yes.
they've kind of been doing better since they discovered AI.
Mhm.
Like it's that new thing they just discovered, and it's like magic now. The
Mhm.
Saga Remaster was actually praised for how it looked. It wasn't a great game because it wasn't initially a great game, but I think fans were happy with how that remaster turned out.
Okay. Yeah, like if it's true, and I guess we could talk about this further, but I hope for their sake it looks great because as a Final Fantasy VIII fan, I kind of have very mixed feelings about the
The
remaster.
remaster, yes.
Yeah, so I hope if it happens, I hope it's good. But
Yeah.
all right, I guess we can bounce back
Yeah.
towards talking about
The first, the big one.
so Final Fantasy 16,
Yes.
which I think that's kind of like I think everybody and like their mom kind of is like, yeah, like it's gonna be there. Like I think 16 will get the treatment that the remake got um,
Yes.
at the E3 in 2019, where
Hopefully.
that's kind of like, yeah, hopefully, where that's kind of like the jumping point of like them really marketing the game, where we kind of get like, we see more characters. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like we see more of like the time skip. We might see like adult Jill
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, and they
Yes.
kind of elaborate more on the battle systems. That's kind of stuff
Maybe
I'm
show
expecting. How about you?
party members because there's a
Mm-hmm.
whole discourse about whether there's one or not, and there I think people are making bets about it as well.
Yes,
Not
I'm
sure.
guilty of being involved in that. You don't have to say people. Just say just because I was the one who
They'll
started.
recognize each other. Yes.
But I guess we can like go into that further. Like, what do you really, I guess, expect and
I
hope out of
I
16?
I just want a good trailer, man. The last one
Mm-hmm.
wasn't great.
No.
Some parts were pretty underwhelming. The when they showed combat was great, but I don't know. It lacked pace, and they decided to show some footage that wasn't ready. uh,
Mhm.
which completely defeats the purpose of not having any CG. I'm not usually a fan of CG in reveals, but not having CG is good. But I would also have preferred to see footage from parts of the game that were ready to be shown.
Mhm.
So this is what I want. Basically, I would like to see the game under a better light. And God, I'm hoping there's party members. Not for me. I wouldn't care. For other people, because 15 at first when it came out didn't have party members, and then they added
Mhm.
it and it wasn't great anyway. If 16
Mhm.
doesn't have party members, through it, the people are going to riot, and I I don't want to go through that again. I guess
Well, I guess a quick question for you. When you say like party members, like
full
because I
a full party, like um, not just Clive.
yeah, like I know what you mean, but I guess I guess the thing with the party member discussion is that it's kind of like super layered because you have people who just don't think there'll be party members at all, or you have
Yes,
people who think it'll
guest
be
party
like a
members.
yeah, like
I
our
mean,
guest party members, kind of
I
like The
guess,
Witcher, and like
yeah, I guess that would be
yeah,
fine. But again, hardcore Final Fantasy fans will not be satisfied with that. They want their party members, the other characters they can switch to that have their
mhm,
own qualifications and
mhm,
uh, weaknesses and etc. That's what I mean. It would be okay if it was like The Witcher 3, I guess, with guest members, but it wouldn't be like what uh, old school fans expect from the game. I would
yeah,
be fine. I would be fine with just Clive being
mhm,
his own Geralt in Witcher 3. I wouldn't mind. It's for other people, not for me.
yeah, and I think I'm one of those people where I'm kind of optimistic about it. Like I do think there'll be like party members. I think my main concern is just kind of like, well, if they are, will it be like a 15 situation where like you can't control them, or
Yeah.
will it be like VR where you can like switch? Because like looking at the battle system, I don't think there'll be.
Any
I don't
switching?
think it'll be like V. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That you no, I'm saying you don't think there will be any switching like in the remake?
Well, I guess I think they'll be switching, or I hope they'll be switching like the remake. But I don't think how like how the remake had that mechanic where like you could
Give them
you
orders?
could yeah, like
Right.
things would slow down and things like
Oh
that, and you
no,
could give them
no,
orders.
no! I'm
Yeah,
not
like I don't
expecting
see
that.
that
No,
happening. Like
no.
I
It's
think
it's
it'll just
it's
be
more
like
actiony than that. I think.
yeah. So I think it'll just be like let's say if Jill is a party member, I switch to Jill, and like
Yes,
Clive just does what the AI just does what it does, and
yes.
that's it.
Like
And
Clive is the melee character with his sword, and then Jill will have magic or something or her own weapon,
yes,
whatever.
and I think since we're kind of already touching on gameplay, we can transition to that because I think the way the gameplay, at least from what I've seen, which it ain't a lot, but just from what I've seen, it just feels like Clive doesn't. I feel like people look at Clive and think he's like Noctis just because he can use like the different powers of summons,
Right.
but it doesn't to me it doesn't really feel like he's a jack of all trades character
Yeah.
because they kind of went out of their way to only show him with a sword,
Right.
where like Noctis kind of could like do all
Well,
these things and he could use magic to heal himself, and so I don't get the same vibe completely from Clive. I don't know how you feel about it
yo,
though.
no, you're right. I agree. We haven't seen much anyway. He can definitely still uh, do more or do less. We're not sure, but yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like he's going to be a Noctis type for me either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, like it's kind of hard to say, and I think that's why like when people are like, "Oh, there's not gonna be a party," like I can't, I can't be like you're wrong. It's like I don't know either, but I just feel like I don't think like even just looking at like how 14 works, even though there's it's like an MMO, there's not like a typical party because
Mm,
of how the game works. I still feel like they've always made an effort to be like, hey, you have these group of people who are like your squad, and they
right.
kind of follow you
Yeah.
from like
Like
place to place,
like
like a
party.
party
Yeah.
would.
Yes.
so, so
Yes.
I just can't see the same team. Like obviously the team that
That's
that's
great
making this
point.
game,
Actually.
they
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
like
And
they left. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry. And the producer Yoshida also said
Mhm.
they haven't shown the game's word did he use, the assets or something like
Mhm.
he said himself they've showed basically nothing yet. So um,
Yeah.
E3 is where I expect to see the game uh, in its full glory, like they say.
Yeah, because I didn't really touch on like what you talked about the first trailer because I do agree. We're like, I don't think it was like like it was awful or anything, but I
Right.
do feel like they're very focused on like giving us exposition and
Yeah.
kind of like setting up the world versus like wowing us with graphics.
Right.
And like that has its pros and cons. Um, and so I do think the next time they show it, we'll kind of get like
Yes,
that wow factor.
because I think it's time. Like I'm expecting the game to release this fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
So in about maybe not this year, maybe the start of next year.
I
So
agree.
yeah, it's time to show it, man. Like they have to start advertising it so that we know what it's about, and yeah, ramp up the marketing. It's time.
Yeah, yeah, because like I'm not gonna lie, like the whole website dump of information, like that was great, but like I need more. Like I love
Yes,
my Final Fantasy
better than the
women, so I
trailer actually. The site
yeah,
was showed some pictures that got me more excited than the trailer did. So that was
yeah, I
good.
agree. Yeah, yeah. And I do feel like we need to see more of Clive as a person because like there's already kind of like the jokes about him being like edgy and wanting to kill people. like
I don't know
oh
where this comes from. Honest, I think there's one screenshot where he looks edgy, but that's it.
yeah, because I kind of feel like we've literally basically only I think we've probably really only seen like the first like hour and a half of the game and
Maybe yes,
maybe
yes.
other parts like it kind of just feels like with the remake where they kind of were like showing like the bombing mission like over and over again
Well,
before they like really
after that they didn't say it. They didn't say it at the time, but when they said at E3 that it was going to be just Midgard, we knew why they were showing only the bombing mission.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like that whole thing makes sense
Hmm.
because technically like looking back I think I can't remember when you went on blackout but
For the remake
the yeah.
after E3.
Okay, well then you don't know this. Well, after E3, I think it was the Tokyo Game Show where they had a trailer, and that
Oh,
trailer
oh
ends
no,
on
I
like
might have watched.
showing.
I think I've watched that too.
Okay,
Actually,
well then yeah. Well,
I
like at the
failed
end.
at my blackout at the time. Yes.
Okay, well then at the end of that trailer, then you probably remember this. They show like they don't show the plate fall, but they show like the aftermath, and
Oh,
that's like basically the end of the game that they showed off.
yeah.
And that was like to me honestly state of play like remake, I combine those trailers because it's basically the same content.
Mm.
Like I feel like that really is like the second trailer after like that we really got after it went in house, and they're already
Right.
showing basically like the second game, the end of the game, excuse me, and like the second trailer really. So
Yeah.
I think they might have to.
That's Square
I
Enix. All
mean,
right. Yes.
yes, it was Square Enix being like they were pulling a Square Enix, but um, I think with 16, that's kind of something I myself, because I usually dive into leaks. I
Mm.
don't care,
Yeah.
but I think I've been burnt to the past, and
Whoa.
so now I'm kind of like maybe I should just be like a normal person and just watch a few trailers and then like
Well,
stop.
yeah. Well, who knows how it's going to work with 16, but if it's anything like 14, I don't think we have to worry about heavy spoilers until the
Okay,
launch trailer, which is
okay.
always bad. It's a Square Enix launch trailer is always it's always better to avoid those. Let's say.
Yeah, because I remember with 15, like they straight up showed like the ending CG and like
Yeah,
the
man.
last.
Yeah, man. Especially in
And it's
15, like
like,
there wasn't much in the game, so you go ahead and show everything in the last trailer. Yeah, do that.
see,
Smart.
you're more blunt than me because I was trying to be nice with the remake because that's kind of what I was thinking in my head. Where like I think with the remake, like they didn't really have a lot to show, so they kind of just showed the
Yeah.
whole game, and so I'm hoping that 16 is like a meteor game where like there is enough surprises and
Yes.
stuff like that.
I'm hoping true. Yes.
And I guess the kind of the last thing, at least for me, that I want to say about 16
Yes.
is more of a question to you: is that do you think there will be a demo for it?
No, I don't think.
Okay,
Uh,
that's
do you,
interesting.
well, before the leak of Origin, maybe I would have said yes. I don't think they're going to put two demos right now for two different games. Don't you think?
Well, I meant more like how remake got a demo that was like really close to release.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
just not right now. So I don't
Now,
think
like okay,
if there is a demo later down the line, I don't think they will announce it this E3.
me either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just meant like in
Yeah, no.
general
Oh,
because
yeah,
that seems
maybe they
yeah.
do. Square Enix is doing that a lot, so
Mhm.
it's entirely possible. Yes, I think.
Okay. Well, do you have any final thoughts about 16?
Please be good. That's all.
Yes, please be good and please have female characters that
Please,
are
yes,
written well, and I
yes.
also want brown and black people. Thank you.
I don't know about.
Yeah,
I
like
feel
that's
like
that
Square
one's
is gonna
I
be
don't know.
like Square is going to be like we're giving you Frey in Forspoken. That's it. That's all you're
Yeah,
getting. And
you
16 will be
guess
the whitest game on earth, and you'll all love it. And
that's they're giving me like one piece of bread. Like take
yes.
it and don't
Oh
complain
God.
for like 10 years.
Speaking of
Those,
Forspoken,
yes, that's a very great
yeah, that's the second one. I'm just on a roll.
you're on a you're on a roll today. For spoken that I think that's probably the hypest game for me personally
I'm
out of the stuff on the
right
list.
there with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Um, and it's for spoken. It's kind of with.
Like it's weird.
I feel like
We've seen less than of Forspoken than 16, and yet I'm more excited for it. I don't know if
yes,
that's the reason or they just did a good job at showing it. It's just it looks great, man. I'm really excited for it.
yeah, and that's kind of my stance too. And I think I can at least speak for me that I think the reason why like Forspoken stands out is that it's different. Like
Yes.
like on very
Yes.
multiple like on
Yes.
multiple levels, like from the protagonist herself to
Yes.
like the whole world and like the power she's using, and I think, like I love Final Fantasy. I do think I think at worst I think 16 will be like good, like decent. Like I don't think 16 would be bad,
No, please be
but
good.
I think
Please.
yeah, like I think at worst, just from like the team, I think it would be decent, like at worst.
At worst.
But in terms of like its aesthetic, like what they're like the plot, like
Yeah.
I do think there will be like a plot
Yeah, we
twist about like
we didn't touch on that, like the
yeah, we
whole
really
the whole vibe, but we better not because I don't have nice things to say about
oh really? Well, now we have to because I didn't know you felt that way.
16.
Yeah, like about the
I'm
plot.
not.
Like I didn't know you had
The
like
plot, maybe it's good. We know nothing about the plot. I'm talking about the setting, like
oh the setting.
the
Okay.
medieval setting. It's
Yeah.
not really for me in general. So
Mhm.
that's why I liked what the site showed. It was more colorful, and we saw the crystal city, and that got me excited more than we've seen the 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 basic ass buildings we've seen in the trailer.
Yeah, like I agree. I think the thing with like medieval stuff is that I don't think I feel like people play it straight and they don't offer like unique takes on it. Like I feel like I haven't finished all like the expansions of 14 myself, but
Yeah,
like 14 has places that are like very
it's
medieval
different.
inspired, but
Yeah,
they
but
also have like the empire that uses tech, and
yes,
you're going to the moon in like the next expansion, and it's very different. And they
I
have locations that are clearly inspired by like South Asia or Japan itself.
yeah.
And so I think with 16 it's kind of like, well, are we gonna get like a Game of Thrones world where it's just nothing but castles and
Yeah,
stuff, or
that's.
are they gonna
I hope
have
not. Honestly, I
yeah,
really, really hope it's not like this.
yeah, and I think that's my question of like, are we gonna have locations that are like, clearly inspired by like other cultures, so it's not just the same. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, and I agree. And to push it back to over to Forspoken, I
Mm.
think in terms of setting, I think the one concern I have with its setting is that like, is this gonna be, like how
15 was.
15 was in terms of like, a lot of the game is kind of
Barren land.
like you run, yeah, barren, and there was kind of like the wooded area,
Yeah,
and so far as we're spoken,
yeah.
you've seen like the
That's what
barren,
we've seen. Yes.
yeah,
Well, you
and
can.
so,
It's a legitimate worry, I think, especially since it's from
mhm,
the same team as 15. Hoping it
mhm,
won't be the same case though, because they actually had time to work on this one.
yeah, and so, and I think just like with 16, I just want to be surprised. Like I want something unexpected and different.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think it's already different. It doesn't only feel different. I have hope that it will be, since Square Enix themselves are trying something different by having an international team working on it, having
yeah.
Western writers, and even a Western composer. It seems that's not
Mhm.
confirmed, but yes, it. I definitely think it will be different from anything Square Enix has ever released.
Yeah, and so I kind of feel like, we don't really know the plot except that like it clearly seems to be like
Say it.
this woman
Say
from
it.
our world, or
Yes. Say the word. Say.
uh, I don't, I don't, I'm not saying.
Isekai. Yeah. Just say it.
There.
It's just a word, man. It can't hurt you.
Well, no, like I didn't
Not
see
you
it because I
specifically, but
literally.
a lot of the reception on Reset Era, for example, when they read that word, it's like it was
They
something.
hate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't understand. Like, there's a lot of isekai stuff in Western literature and movies and media as a whole. So like it's just not called like that. That's the only problem I think they have. It's the Japanese word.
Yeah, like honestly, I didn't say it because I couldn't remember what I what the
It's
word.
okay.
Because like I don't watch like
That's why
honestly
I'm
like
here for the weeby stuff.
thank you because like honestly
You're
I
welcome.
watch anime but like I've literally never watched like that type of anime so like to see people get so
Most
upset about it.
for to be honest, most of them are trash, but like
Okay.
some of them, like the only one I've watched, which is called Escaflowne,
Mhm.
is a great anime. It's one of my favorite ever. So that one got it right. I
Mhm.
really advise watching that one if you want to get to know what that word means and maybe say
Yeah,
it one
because
day.
the one that people I think hyped up, but then it ended up being bad. What is it like? Sword Art Online? Is that
Yeah,
the one people
yeah.
don't like?
I
Yeah,
don't watch that. It looks trash, and people say it's trash. So
yeah, yeah. Like that's the one like I always hear about. It's like that one's trash.
yeah,
Like,
because there's that one guy, and he has like this harem of girls around him, and you know the
okay,
type.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know how anime works.
yeah. Well, hopefully for spoken, it does
Well,
seem like.
yeah, it won't be like that. It's a female protagonist. It won't
Mm-hmm.
happen. So I don't think we should be worried about it being an isekai. That's it.
Well, I also know some people are like complaining about like the protagonist in these types of stories are usually like I guess it's like maybe a chosen one or like they're always like super overpowered and
Sure,
stuff, and
I
it's like
think that's fine. Like if it's done correctly,
mm-hmm.
that could be cool.
Yeah, and it seems like Frey like I don't know if she's like a chosen one type, but
Maybe.
if you look up the meaning of like forspoken or like the word it's like derived from forspoke, one of it is about like it's like bewitched or like
Yeah.
cursed or something like along those lines and it seems clear that like this land like this world of Athia because
That's the
for
word.
people who aren't aware when it was called Project Athia
Athia.
that's the world's name
Yep.
so I kind of feel like when you look at the monsters she's fighting like they seem like disease like cursed like something's clearly wrong with him
Yes.
and so I feel like that's kind of like probably the plot of the game is like fixing this or something like that do you agree
Yeah, it's maybe
mm-hmm
that. I wouldn't have a problem with it, honestly. If it's done correctly,
mm-hmm
it could be cool.
yeah and
And it's a
I'm
Western take on this plot, so you know,
yes
hopeful.
yeah and like I'm a Final Fantasy VIII fan, and if you've played Final Fantasy VIII, like witches. They don't call them that in the English version, but in Japanese, that's they call them like witches.
Yeah,
That's like a whole big plot point of the game. So I'm very curious to see like there has to be like other humans in this game or like in this world. So I'm curious of like will they be
yeah,
like a female villain or something like that. Like I'm just kind of curious like what they'll do. And like
and
does she have to fight somebody?
hopefully, this E3 is where we see more of it.
Exactly. Yeah, because I'm just I know
Uh,
somebody.
yeah, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I was just gonna quickly say that someone found I think it was artwork I can't remember how they found it, but they were speculating that it might be tied to Forspoken, and in Frey's design, she kind of has like that kind of like shawl like thing she wears, and
Connected to
in the
what? Sorry.
art, well, there was artwork that someone was speculating is like connected to Forspoken, but we don't really
Oh,
know.
oh, okay, yeah. I don't think I've seen it, but okay.
Okay, well then I'll send it to you. Like I'll find
Yes,
it and like send it
please.
to you afterwards. But it's basically like this city, and it looks like it's flooded, but there's
Okay,
like lights on and stuff.
interesting,
And there's like a woman standing, and there's like a guy on a horse. And
interesting.
so yeah, and
Horses
that's what I'm
confirmed. Yes.
maybe if it's concept art for Forspoken. So that kind of like ties into like my thing about like the setting, and I'm really hoping that like when they show it off, we really get something weird where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you think it's just this barren and like wooded
Uh,
area, but then you walk into like a city that's like flooded or something like
that
that, you
would be
know?
great. Into
Yeah,
that. Yes.
yeah.
I think I remember in the trailer originally, they said it was written that they will show more, or the full reveal
Mhm.
will be this year, and then it was removed. But then I think the leak on Reset Era also mentioned that Forspoken was going to be there, right?
um,
16 was
I,
confirmed for sure.
I know 16 was confirmed, but I'm not sure about
We'll have
Forspoken.
to check again. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure, but
We'll confirm
I,
that to our listeners in next episode.
yes,
Yes, for
because
sure.
um,
E3 will
and
have ended by then, but okay.
yeah, and so then we'll definitely know. We can either express excitement or disappointment. It'll only
Yeah.
go like two ways. So I really am hoping that, because this is kind of my theory. I haven't really talked about this before to anybody actually. Is that I kind of hope that part of the plot is that it's not just people being pulled into this world, because we don't know how Frey entered this world, but
Hmm.
like it'd be cool if like what if an entire city got like pulled in, and it's because I'm kind of hoping there's like a
Interesting.
little bit of horror mixed into this.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, because like based on like the monsters that they've
Now,
kind of
well,
showed,
now I want that, so
like it's like that
will
just be like
suck if it's
what if.
not there.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like why I haven't really talked about it, because like I don't want to like hype myself up into like
Well,
be like, oh, what if this happened?
too late
But
now.
yeah, but I just think that like once I saw that art, because I was thinking like, well, how is there a city here, and if it really is tied to Forspoken, and so I just think that'd be really cool. Like even if it's not like a full on city, it
Hmm.
would just be really cool if they just like mixed in like just weird things. And
Yeah.
I've liked the monster designs of the game so far, so I think they just kind of need to like show more weirder stuff with the setting, and then I'll be fully on board, because like I'm already like 80-90% there. They just kind of need to show me more in terms of like locations,
Right.
and then like I'll be 100% hyped. So
Right. Same. Same. Excited.
alrighty, yeah. So do you have any
Well,
last thoughts about Forspoken?
yeah, I'm just only worried about the combat. Really, the rest.
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of it. We've mostly seen traversal, and
Mhm.
we've seen Frey cursing at a giant bear. That was about it. So I'm hoping I can see more of it, so I can also rest easy concerning the combat.
Yeah. Because my personal theory, just as my final thoughts, is that like when they officially like announced the title, and they kind of had like the whole build up to it, and
Yeah,
my theory was that like when it was like building towards like the like with the graphics or whatever of the,
yeah,
like the title, I kind of think like each transition was like a different element she can use.
yeah.
So I if that ends up being true, like I want to kind of see like how does that work? Like how do the different powers? Because I don't think like because so far she's been kind of using like trees and stuff. It looks
The
like
environment,
branches.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of like, I want to see her like set some stuff on fire. See
Yes,
what happens with
yes,
that.
yeah. Yes, they
So
don't
with
even need to give her weapons or anything. Like, I
yes,
think
yeah, like
what they have looks great. It just need to function well and to be fun to play. That's all I need really.
yeah, like to me, it just feels like they took the magic system in 15 and was like, what if we like
They didn't take much, right?
made well, they didn't take much, but just like,
Because
well,
there
I guess
wasn't
yeah, like
much.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
I, yeah, like not much, like not like the throwing balls and stuff, not that, but I think just kind of how it's the same team, and I think it's just like, what if we just scrapped weapons and we just had like a person who could do it all with magic, just
Yeah,
how Noctis could
yeah,
do it everything with weapons, and so that's what I think they're going with. Like,
would be
she's
great.
like,
Yes,
yeah, so she's like a super witch or something. I don't know,
one witch
but
army.
yes. So with that said, what was the third game on your list?
And Kingdom Hearts. We have the
Okay.
same, I think.
Yeah, like mine was just I was more vague. I just put like I think we'll either see some type of Nomura game, like either they're just gonna show off The World Ends With You 2 more, or we will get to see the next Kingdom Hearts game.
Oh, yeah. The world ends with you. I think it depends. If they're going to have a long presentation, maybe they will show stuff like the world end with you. I'm thinking we're due for another spin-off, the KH spin-off.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue what it's going to be about. I'm not that versed in the lore. Maybe it will have something to do with Verum Rex, probably.
Um well, where Melody's memory left off, I guess
I know.
spoilers if you care enough.
No,
Uh
no, it's fine.
yeah, and just for like anybody who happens to listen, at the end of the game, it kind of they bench Kari again.
Oh,
They have her like they have her.
oh,
She decides to yeah, like she decides she wants Aqua to train her
oh,
because Riku told her he basically she wanted to go with him to go save Sora, and he was kind of like no. It was really awkward. um and
oh. So maybe
yeah,
it's that other guy's game,
yeah, like the way it's
Riku.
set up, like it kind of just feels like we might get like it might not be the same gameplay wise, but it just seems like we'll probably get something that's like a dream drop distance type game because
Oh,
they gave the world that uh Zora, did I say his name right?
yes. I'm proud
Yeah,
of
okay.
you. I'm so proud of
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.
It's your Zora.
Thank you. The the world Yuzora is from, or he seems to be from,
Mm.
they gave that a name, and it means square. Like I can't remember
Uh,
what it's called, but I just know it means square.
okay.
So people are thinking we might get like different Square Enix IPs in that world outside of Final Fantasy. We don't know.
Okay.
Like yeah, because it went weird. Like they're like apparently this world is like the world of fiction
Okay.
or something like
I'm
yeah, and
I don't know what to think about any of this. I haven't kept up
I
with
don't know.
Kingdom Hearts since I finished Remind. Um Interesting, I
Yeah,
guess, for people that care.
yeah, like they just confirmed like like the nameless star, like that's not Stella. Like they confirm that
Okay.
like she's still dead or whatever, but they like talk to like the star.
Who's still dead?
Um, you know how in like Kingdom Hearts 3 when like I guess Sora quote unquote dies and he goes to like the final world
He died.
and there's like the well
Oh,
that's what it's implied like all the characters because he goes that's why he goes back in time
God damn it,
because I think they
Nomura.
died there. Yeah, I don't. At least that was my interpretation. Like it kind of. I don't think he like full on died, but it kind of seemed like the in between place.
Okay.
And but do you remember the place with the clouds and it was blue?
Vaguely, yes, yes.
Okay, do you remember there was like some like stars you could talk to?
Yeah, yeah,
No.
and that's what people were saying that was Stella.
Well, there are theories. Like at first, people were saying it was like another character, but then people were theorizing that like it's the whoever she probably isn't named Stella anymore, but like basically it's Stella. People were theorizing it was her, and then in Melody's memory, I think they like confirmed like they use her as like a star as like the access point to like get to the
Stop.
world
Oh, stop it.
that they
Stop
think
it.
Sora is in.
Oh,
This I hate that I hate that I know this because but they, the reason she's important is because they use her as a way to get to the world
okay.
that Yuzora is from and where they
Neat.
think Sora is.
Neat.
So do you
I'm very excited. Do I
yeah,
sound
so
I sound excited, right?
no.
Okay. I'm trying, but
You sound broken.
uh, just thinking about Kingdom Hearts plot is enough to, well, not.
Yeah,
I
like
mean, yeah, you
I'm
know.
not like yeah, I think at this point it's whatever. Like
Uh,
I think the only cool thing about this is that if the because I think it's called quadratum and I think that means like square in like Latin or something. You know how Nomura uses Latin words. Like I think
okay.
the idea that we could get cameos from like other
Other.
Square Enix games
That's cool.
that's interesting
Yes, that's
if it
cool. Yes,
happens.
yes.
Yeah, like if Laura
Because
Croft like or like 2B show up, but I don't think Nomura will do that, even if it sounds cool. And if he does, it'll just be like the world ends
and
with you characters again.
we had to beg him to include Final Fantasy characters. So I don't know.
Yeah, like that. Like people are theorizing that, but I'm like he didn't like they barely wanted to like have Final Fantasy characters anymore. Like why would he
Yeah.
like suddenly want to use like other Square Enix properties? So like I think he would only use ones he was directly involved with, even if he did use
Mm.
like other IPs. Like I know he wanted the chick from Parasite Eve. He originally wanted her in Kingdom Hearts 1 instead
He
of
wanted
Aerith.
her.
Yeah, and I think the team is like, no, we want Aerith, and so that's why Aerith got in instead of her. So I'm like, maybe something like that could happen, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah, you sound
this
so
is
over it.
this is all I have to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I
I,
put
I
it
guess
on my list, but under it, I have nothing written, so that's I
same. Like
really
I'm not.
don't have anything to say about it other than I think it will be there. It's time.
Yeah, like that's how I feel. Like I'm not really super hyped about Kingdom Hearts as a series anymore. Like the only thing, I guess my final thoughts would just be like,
A reboot.
isn't like the 20th anniversary or something coming up?
Next year.
Yeah, like the only thing I would say was that
Let me check.
I, because the first game came out in like what like 2001 or something.
Maybe 2002. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the next year, you're right. Yeah, like I knew it was like around this ballpark, so like the only thing I could really say is that I think if any, the only thing that would really get me excited for Kingdom Hearts is if they were like, for the 20th anniversary, we're gonna like remake Kingdom Hearts 1 or something like that. Like, but
A,
even then,
a, a
I feel like
reboot?
they, oh, well, like a remake,
A remake of
like,
one?
but I don't,
Okay.
of Kingdom Hearts 1, like, or you know, like something exciting. Or I don't know, that would be exciting to me if they like announced that for like
Yeah.
the anniversary or something. But even if they did it, I expect it like I think a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake would be like Final Fantasy 7 remake, not in terms of like how 7 remake is like a semi sequel now, but in terms of like them throwing
Mm.
in stuff from like games that came after the original
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think of yeah, like I think like a Final Fan, not Final Fan, a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake with like throw in stuff and like Birth by Sleep that was never there, and I don't want that. So so that's so that's, yeah. So I feel like it's kind of a catch 22 where it's like
Yeah.
I would love if you know a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake, but I feel like they would throw in
We
like
want
Sora would
them, but
suddenly
not
say
everything. Yes.
yeah, like I feel like somebody would suddenly say like may my heart be a guiding key, which is like a thing that characters just like Sora just said it in like Kingdom Hearts 3, even though he's never said that before, and it's like and it's only being said because of like
Okay.
new stuff that like Nomura wants to build. So I don't know. I don't want all those like weird tie-ins. So it's like I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
So yeah,
So that's
that's how I
your
feel about Kingdom Hearts.
that's your Nomura game. Something Nomura, or you had something
Yeah.
else from him.
No, like I just felt like because like you said, I don't know how long the Square Enix presents thing is gonna be.
And
Um.
how it will be divided, because they're probably going to have their own presentation, but they're also they will be there at the Summer Game Fest and E3 proper. Like I
Yeah.
don't know if it means that their presentation will be there, but maybe it will be split into three parts: one for the Summer Game Fest, one for E3, and their own presentation. So
Well, I
there's
kind of just assumed like you know how they're like Xbox announced something and then E3 was like, yeah, like Xbox has presentation for our show, and then Summer Games was
Summer Game
like,
Fest did the same.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it's
like the
they're
Summer Games
fighting
is like,
over it. Yes,
yeah, like I think the Square Enix thing will be like the same. Like I honestly think we're
that's
just gonna get like one
yeah, that's
thing,
a good point
and
actually.
then
Yeah,
yeah, and like both sides will be like, this was for our event, and I think outside of Square's
that's
own
yes,
show
could happen.
will
Especially since they mentioned that one presentation leaked. Maybe that's the big one from Square Enix. We didn't say that before, but the Origin isn't the only thing that leaked that we haven't heard of. The whole presentation
mm-hmm,
from Square Enix leaked, but all everyone was talking about was Origin. They didn't talk
mm-hmm,
about anything else. But
yes.
presumably more leaked, but we have no idea yet. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
soon. Who knows?
Yeah. So like I feel like outside of their own presentation, the only place we're getting more Square Enix stuff is like Sony's presentation,
State of
like
play.
whatever they have,
Yes.
like for the summer. And I don't think I don't think anyone's gonna try to claim Sony's thing because Sony's been doing like their own
Well,
stuff for like a couple years
especially
now.
not E3. They're
Yeah,
not going
yeah,
to touch it.
yeah. Like so, like
Yeah.
Sony's like on another level, and they're like,
And
we're doing our own thing.
and
Don't try to claim us.
they only announced their stuff through State of Play. I don't think it will be anything else, right?
Yes, I agree.
It
Yeah,
will be called a State of Play.
yeah. Like I expect something that's kind of like not like the PS5 showcase, but I think they'll have like I think there would be like a bigger like type showcase that's like
Yeah.
a little bigger than how like state of plays usually are
Yeah.
um over the summer, and then they might do like a second like state of play like in like August or September like they did last year.
Right. I didn't ask you, but do you think Forspoken will have a release date?
Yes, because I don't think they would have said 2022
Yeah,
otherwise.
I
Yeah.
think so too. I think we'll get the both release dates for 16 and Forspoken, hopefully.
Which one do you think will be first?
16. I've been saying that since it was revealed. The game, they showed a lot of the game, even if a lot of it wasn't really ready.
Mm-hmm.
But it's farther along than people think. I think it will be first, like I said, maybe start of 2022, and then a few months after that, maybe Forspoken.
Yeah, because I've I flip flop because originally like I was like 16 is first, and then there was that kind of like weird PS leak, which I think now I kind of feel like that was probably like a placeholder date and stuff like that, where they
Well,
first
yeah,
mentioned like Forspoken
yeah,
in 2022.
maybe,
Um,
yes,
yeah, so that kind of had me unsure, but I think now I'm like more firmly in the camp of 16 will be first
yes,
for the reasons you just stated. And also, like, there's been talks and like leaks from like insiders mentioning
that too,
how
yes.
16 was originally cross gen and then went full like
Originally
current gen.
cross-gen, and also initially it was before the pandemic. It was supposed to release this summer.
Yeah, like it was supposed to be released a lot earlier than people would have ever guessed.
Yeah,
Um, so I definitely think the reason we haven't seen 16 in a while, whereas like Forspoken kind of got like a teaser, at least showing it off more again,
yeah,
and then announcing his full name. I think the reason is that the next time you see 16 is that I think it'll look like a current gen game. Like I think
please, yes,
it'll like, or
please
at least I
God,
hope so. Like
yes.
I think
That's all I
the
want.
yeah, like I think if you had issues with how like young Clive looked, we can't change his hair, but
Nope.
if you didn't like how like some of those scenes looked, I think they've had time to like polish the
Iron
game
things out,
more.
definitely, yes.
Yeah, so I definitely think that like I just think 16 just needs a really good trailer that looks good, and I think even if you don't like medieval stuff or whatever, I think everybody will get on
Just
board.
show me the Crystal City, and I'm set. That
Yeah,
I don't want anything else.
yeah, like they really need to show Clive like in towns because they just showed him like fighting in empty places or like
And yeah,
looks kind of like the world map or something. Like they really need to show like a city because to be blunt, Final Fantasy's kind of been terrible at towns for
no,
like
don't
a
say
while
that.
now.
No.
Yes. Yeah, like it's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to say,
Well,
but
they
yeah.
are hard, so I've
Yeah,
heard. So I've heard.
they're they're hard to do. We understand, but it's kind of
Yes.
like we need like a really good city. And they talked about the website dump that we mentioned earlier that they mentioned like the different regions, and I'm hoping they mention all of those places because those are all places we're gonna go to
Yeah.
instead of just because that was one issue I had with 12, where they always mention like Rosaria, and they had that character from Rosaria, but then it's like we didn't go there, and it's like I get trying to make it like feel like a real world where there's like warring nations and stuff like that, but it's like don't tease me with like these other places and I can't go there.
Maybe it
And
was in all these other games Ivali's got.
True. Yeah, like true. Maybe you do go there. And
I
it's kind of like just a hint,
I
like a fan service thing.
yeah,
But
I don't know. I'm saying maybe. I only have
yeah,
played
I don't know
12.
either. Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know, but I just hope that I just hope with 16, like it's a really like thorough world that we get to explore. So,
Yeah.
moving on. What was the
I
next
think
game on your list?
the only thing we have in common next is Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we can each
Well,
one.
you want to share? Yeah. Well, do you want to share your thoughts first?
Yeah. I think both Guardian of the Galaxy and a new Tomb Raider are being developed. But
Mm-hmm.
I think only one of them will be shown for obvious reasons. I'm leaning more towards Guardian of the Galaxy. It's been rumored since 2017, I think,
Mm-hmm.
or since the other Avengers game was announced.
Mm-hmm.
And the last Tomb Raider was released in 2018, and before that, it was in 2015. So they have uh, they they're able to release these Tomb Raider games every 3 to 4 years. So another Tomb Raider is also due. It could go either way. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Guardian of the Galaxy, Guardians.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for my Tomb Raider thing, is that I think if we do see like a current gen Tomb Raider, I I think it'll just be like a tease, and I think it'll just be something to show that like I don't know if they're doing a full reboot, but I don't think they are. I think what they're gonna do probably is just show like if it happens, show like the current Laura
Mm-hmm.
and show her looking like classic Laura. Like I think that's what's gonna happen.
Give the people what they
And
want.
yeah, because they already confirmed like they're working on a new Tomb Raider game. Like at the beginning of the year, when like the whole like 20th anniversary stuff started, like they had like
And
a
that
video talking about.
and that
Oh,
they
go ahead.
want
I'm
to
sorry.
unify the timelines, like you told me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they mentioned like we are like starting like work on like a new Tomb Raider game, but like we're not ready to show it off and stuff like that. And so I think between that and like unifying the whole timeline thing, like that has to be like a process. I don't know how long they've been working on this new game, especially with like the whole Avengers stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we see anything, at least current gen, it'll just be like a teaser because they've been
Yeah.
acknowledging classic Laura more.
All right.
You
Okay.
know, yeah, like for like the 20th anniversary, comparing the 20th anniversary logo, they had like kind of like a silhouette of Laura, but it was just the braids. Like she didn't have like the dual pistols. Where and this one like they went like full on, like she has the dual
Was
pistols and
was
everything.
she on the
Um,
cookbook?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't even want to get it. Yeah, like I'm not gonna go on a rant
Yeah.
about how like the 20th anniversary stuff, and
Yeah.
I think that's the second half of like my Tomb Raider wish, I guess, for E3 is that I'm hoping that whatever. I think they need to do a double whammy. Basically, I think they need to announce like some ports or like a remaster collection or something,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think you can have like an anniversary celebration. It's like literally year long because like each month of this year
Mm-hmm.
was like literally dedicated to like each game. Like they've been having like big artists like do artwork based on each game. Like I think the first one was like art director at Crystal Dynamics. So they did like a modern cover of like the first Tomb Raider, and it looked great. And
Yeah.
then I think May has been the last Revelations, which is the fourth game. Um, so it's like like that's great. Like the interaction with fans is great, but like this is a video game series. Like we're here for the game, so I kind of
Sure.
feel like you need to have something to
Ye-
get people excited.
Yeah, and
And
there should be one released really. Like I'm looking at when the previous three Tomb Raider games released. The first one in the trilogy released in
mm-hmm,
2013. And then the second one 2015. That's like really soon after the first one, and then
mm-hmm.
2018. So they're they're able to pump these out quite fast.
But I also think that's kind of a problem.
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
yeah.
yeah, like it has its pros and cons, especially like
I
I think
imagine.
the
Yeah,
third game.
yeah.
Yeah, like have you played Shadow?
I played a little bit. Well, not a little bit. I've played like half of Rise. I have Shadow, but maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
waiting for one day maybe finish Rise and then play Shadow and maybe go back to the reboot. But I've heard some stuff about Shadow.
Yeah, like Shadow's problem, just to go into it really quickly, is just that I think it's two teams having like conflicted desires of
Right.
like I think one side wanted to listen to fans and kind of like go back to like less actiony and more like exploring and
Mm.
like and like I think the perfect example of like the issue with this game is that there's like a giant skill tree, but it's like a lot of it's pointless because like
Uh,
it's the
yeah.
shadow's not focused on like violence and killing as much.
Mm.
So
Rise
so
did
it's
have one, right?
yeah, like each game before had like a skill tree, but it like
Mm.
made sense. And like I feel like the one in Shadow is like huge on top of it. So,
Well,
yeah, so it's
maybe it's a
like
crystal dynamic thing because Avengers kind of had not everything was useless, but a lot of the skills you unlock were maybe the word underwhelming is
mm-hmm,
it was more like stuff you should be getting while leveling up, like more
mm-hmm.
stats. Why it shouldn't be the player who unlocks these. That's all.
Yeah, and I think and I think that this whole thing explains why they're saying we're going to unify the timelines instead of trying to like pretend certain versions of Laura doesn't exist. It's like because honestly, I kind of feel like I don't think it's worked out for them like trying to do like this new like take on Laura. Like I don't think she's really become memorable like that.
Yeah.
Like I think Horizon kind of like stole their lunch with like the
uh,
action girl with the bow and arrow.
Alloy, really? I
I mean,
Yeah,
whether
sure.
you like her,
No, I don't. But I can see why people like her. I think she was pretty bland. Like, I don't think she can
and
take
I
Laura's
think
place.
that well, that's what I mean. But like, did you find Laura and like these new games that interesting?
No, that's true. But like,
Yeah.
I still have like badass Laura in my mind because I've played
E-
the original games on PlayStation, and
exactly.
like, and maybe also to a certain degree the Laura from the movies. Uh,
Exactly. Like that's the Laura Croft people think of. And
yeah,
I feel like this whole these three past games was trying to do this new take on Laura and she's like she didn't really even make a ripple in the ocean. Like to be like honest, like I don't dislike the character like this version of the character,
yeah,
but like I
I
don't
get the
think
point. Yeah,
she's not iconic. So, you know. So
yeah,
it is what it is. Like they don't need to go back to like because I honestly I feel like Laura was sexualized more in like marketing than in the games themselves. Like yeah, there was like a few bits of fan service sometimes, but like that was really rare.
yeah,
And it's like you can update that character. Like just give her pants. Like she can still just like you can still make her the badass like power fantasy like rich woman
yeah.
chasing adventure without like
I think
taking away what
I
people liked.
don't think Lara should be worried about Aloy. Honestly, maybe she should be more worried about the girls from the Uncharted
Uh,
game, the Lost Legacy. That maybe.
yeah, and I definitely think there's room for like all these female characters to exist. Um, but I guess more like when you think of like whether you like Horizon or whether you like the new Tomb Raiders, like personally, like I kind of feel like Horizon and like Alloy, like that imagery of like this girl with like the bow and arrow, like out in the jungle and stuff,
Yeah.
like that kind of became like iconic, at least with the PlayStation brand. Whereas like this version of Laura with like the bow and arrow, it didn't really like take off in the way like maybe they were hoping it would. I don't know, but
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
yeah,
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, and I do feel like with Uncharted, like I played Lost Legacy and I loved it, and that was like the modern Tomb Raider I wanted. Like maybe not exactly, but
Yeah.
if you're not gonna like focus on like the tomb raiding part, at least make it a fun action adventure that doesn't take itself so seriously.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well,
like
that's
I just want.
another problem in Horizon Zero Dawn. Like I think Aloy and Mother and Lara share a lot of the same, um, let's say, failings. If you,
Hmm.
yeah.
That's that's a really good point because I haven't played Horizon. I do own it. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed in like the reveal trailer for the second game, and also the state of play that they recently had,
Mm-hmm.
was that Alloy talked a lot, and it
Right.
reminded me, yeah,
Right.
and, and it reminded me exactly of this version of Laura,
Yeah.
where it's like I don't think this version of Laura talks as much as Alloy, but it reminded me of her. And
Yeah.
also in the reveal trailer, Alloy had like this huge monologue about how she has to save the world and
Yeah.
only she can do it.
Well.
And that
Yeah.
reminded me again of like this Laura. And I was like, oh shit, I don't want to hear this. and
Same, man. Yes. I think the Uncharted Lost Legacy they fixed that by having two characters that go back and forth with each other. So
Mhm.
she has Nadine, and it doesn't sound stupid when she's talking alone. Like she has someone to have banter with, and I think
Exactly.
that's how they fixed it. And
Yeah, I think
that's how Uncharted always did it, I guess. But
yeah, and I also think it helps that like the characters in Uncharted, even if they're not deep, they're likable.
yeah.
Um, because in the Tomb Raider games like Rise and even in Shadow, even when they do introduce like other characters for them to bounce off of, like for instance Rise of the Tomb Raider and like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, they had Laura's
Mm.
friend like Jonah tag along with her, but he's kind of like dull and kind of like a nothing character.
Yeah.
And even at least with like Nadine or like um I remember I played the first Uncharted and like Elena, like I think there was that section where she drives
Yeah.
like
With
the
Nate
water ski thing.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Um they don't do that with Tomb Raider, and I'm assuming they don't do that with Horizon
Oh
to
yeah.
give these
I
characters
mean,
like
Naughty Dog has gotten pretty good with the banter between characters. I guess
yeah.
they've mastered that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think one thing also at least some classic fans is they like the old games. Like they like Laura being by herself. She didn't really talk because it was like a 20-year-old game or 20 plus year old game.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm sure there are people who probably would be fine if Laura just didn't talk outside of like cutscenes, or her saying small tips or something like that. So and, everybody has different tastes, but I guess just to sum up my thoughts is that I just hope that
I think
they
it would be weird if she didn't talk at all.
it would, but fans,
Yeah.
they like the old stuff, even if it doesn't make sense.
Mm. I get it.
you know,
As a Final Fantasy fan, I get it.
yeah, that's just how people are. Like people like there are people who, if they announce at E3 that they were making a Tomb Raider, like a modern Tomb Raider releasing in like 2023 with like tank controls like the old games, I'd be like super excited about that. Like there are people like that, so
Mm.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and they're valid for feeling that way. I just don't think you're never gonna get like a big modern Tomb Raider game that plays like the old ones. So yeah, I
Well,
guess
hope
as
for
far
the
as
best.
Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't really have an opinion on
Well,
that, to be honest.
I have nothing to say about it actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. We don't know if it's going to be. I hope it's not a game as a service like
Yeah,
Avengers.
yeah.
But I'm hoping they will stick with a single player game with one campaign and that's it.
Or something like what the Gotham Knights seems to be doing,
Really,
where
you'd
like
want that? I mean, maybe you don't
I
care about that franchise, but
I mean, yeah, I don't know, like as a person, because can't you still like choose to play a single player with like an AI in like Gotham Knights? Or does it have to be like
oh,
somebody else is controlling
uh,
like another character?
I I thought it was only co-op. Actually, I'm not sure.
I mean, because the way it was framed was that like like there's a story and like everything, so it just seemed
Maybe.
like it would kind of be like how Avengers.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
assuming you could, yeah,
Yeah,
like you could,
that'd be okay, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. Like to me, it kind of seems like the Gotham Knights, at least from what I've seen, seems like that nice in between of like Avengers and then kind of single player. But
Yeah.
I could be wrong. It might flop. Who knows? But it
Yeah.
looked cool to me.
Okay, that's valid.
So,
Yeah,
and
we'll see.
I also, speaking of DC, I think isn't Suicide Squad kind of like the same, or is Suicide Squad more like Avengers? I'm not sure.
I I'm I forgot. I think it's from what I saw, it looked like something like Apex, or I don't know if it will
Mm.
have a story or anything. Maybe.
Because I just remember, because I don't know if you've ever seen gameplay. I just remember the CG trailer and it showed like evil
I,
Superman. So
that's it's
like
probably
that's
all they've shown so far.
okay, yeah, and that seemed like the story. Like it seemed
All
like
right.
a Suicide Squad versus maybe Justice League, or at least Superman. Like he seemed like their target for like their hit or whatever.
Oh,
Um, yeah.
okay.
So if that's the story, it seems to be like building up to killing Superman. I'm sure there'll be like some twists about he's being controlled or something,
Well,
but um,
cool.
I see Guardians being, if they're smart, being more like how the DC games are being presented. I don't know if they'll succeed if those games are like that, but
As I
it
think
would be
they
weird
can
to go
try.
Avengers route.
Yeah, that's all they shouldn't try to do another
Mm-hmm.
game as a service.
Yeah.
Stop.
So
Stop. Don't. Just don't
yeah,
do
like
it.
don't do that
Yes.
again. So I don't know, but yeah, I hope if the Guardians game is show that it looked good. I think they just need to make sure that like they don't reveal it like Avengers, No matter what it
Yeah,
is.
be more clear about what kind of game this it will be. That's also important, I think.
Yes, that, and even just how it looked, because regardless of how you thought the Avengers looked fine, people are laughing. Like
Yeah,
even if they people that didn't even play video games, it just made fun of how they
true.
look. So, so I think just even the visuals, like just
Yeah,
make sure you have it down solid.
the stuntmen, not the Avengers. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So, I guess we can move on to
Yes. Do you have anything else on your list? I still
well,
have to.
I have two as well, but they're kind of like smaller things, so I
Same.
think we
Yeah,
can like knock these out. So I guess I'll do mine
sure.
next one, which is again, this is very vague. Where I just said some type of port announcement where I just feel like it'll be like spinning a wheel, just see where it lands, and I think we'll just get some type of like remaster because we just got like the near one.
Yeah,
Um, so
which was a
you know,
little bit more than a simple remaster. They reworked the combat,
yeah,
which I thought
and
was cool because
yeah,
it wasn't great in the original.
yeah. Like I still need to play it myself.
Same, yeah.
Um, but Dragon Quest they kind of had like their big anniversary stream, and I know like I think there's gonna be like an offline like Dragon Quest 11. No,
10,
11 Dragon
10,
Quest
10,
10.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Um, so that's another series that's kind of getting something. I don't. I think
Got a
it's we
lot,
don't know if
actually.
that's gonna be worldwide.
Which one? The offline game? It won't be.
Okay, it won't be.
Yeah.
Well that sucks for the
Yeah.
fans, but I guess that's something in terms of like them doing a port of like an older game in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of just leaves Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
or because Kingdom Hearts doesn't. It already has its collections, so it's not gonna get
It's
anything.
really just us, Final Fantasy, yeah.
Yeah,
Starving,
and the
always.
elephant, yeah, like the elephant in the room is 13. Right, it hasn't gotten
Yeah.
anything. So yeah, maybe there'll be like a rose gold collection
A
for Queen
rose?
Lightning.
A rose? Did you just say rose?
Yeah, I said rose gold.
Oh,
We'll get like a rose gold steel with like a
smart.
rose imprinted on it.
Thanks.
uh,
God.
but I mean, I would buy it. Like I would probably skip 13 and just go to 13 too.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
yeah, like I don't like 13. Like I
Well,
don't find it enjoyable to play. So.
yeah, Sam. But I also didn't really like the second one.
Oh, you didn't?
No, that's why I didn't even actually try Lightning Returns. It was like strike 1 and 2, and that was it. I I basically, even at the time, I think I gave up on the franchise because they were just releasing these 13 games I didn't really care about, and
Mm-hmm.
then came 14 1.0. It was the nail in the coffin, man. That's
Yeah, it was a difficult time.
yes, that era, rough.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I totally get it. Like, I think with 13, it's like I've tried to play it, and I just don't jive with the combat, and
Mm.
I don't really care enough about the story
Yeah, that's
to deal with the
that's it.
combat either. So it's kind of like, unless they,
Basically this,
I,
yes.
yeah, like,
But I know
I
some
mean,
people like the second one, and I think you like it too. I don't know. I think I just couldn't get into the story as a whole.
I think because I technically really haven't replayed it like when they became backwards compatible on the Xbox
Xbox,
One and
yeah,
stuff. I I replayed the opening of 13 too, and it really shows its age in
sure.
terms of like them adding like quick time events because Western games were doing like quick time events especially,
Oh yeah,
and they had like yeah, like they had like a dialogue tree, kind of like Mass Effect, and you could tell like they didn't get why like it worked in games like Mass Effect. They were just doing
yeah.
it. So it's a weird game to like go back to. Um, so I like I said, I just played the opening, so I can't really like. I don't think it's a great game or anything. Like I think it's kind of dumb, like in terms of like the plot, like to change the
Well,
past, you change the future or
people
something like
people
that.
usually praise the combat in two, like
Yeah,
it's
like they
better
definitely
than
listen to
third.
feedback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I remember it liking it better than 13, but still wasn't that great
Yeah,
for
like
me.
I think it's a decent, like I don't have strong opinions on it, but I guess I would just for like a remastered collection, I guess I
I
would just be
Yeah,
curious if like
I'd be
they
for,
made real
yeah.
changes.
If people want it, I'd be for it too. I maybe giving it another chance. Who knows?
Yeah, like cuz I mean, I guess the question I would raise to you is do you think like do you think if 13, got like a remaster would they make any like significant changes to it?
Um,
Like outside of visuals.
maybe, maybe, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I maybe make the I don't know how 13's combat works. I think it's more involved. It's more you have to move around and stuff like that, right? Maybe
Or you
add
could, yeah.
yeah, maybe add some elements from the third entry's combat to the first one and the second one, since I think also there there's a people are fan of the combat in the third one. I think
Mhm. Yeah.
they could maybe do that.
I
I don't know
well, I
what
know
they
like
would do to the
staggering.
story, but
Yeah, the story's not changing. The like if you didn't like the story, then it's like this
yeah,
isn't like it's the same game.
maybe
But
add voice acting to the data logs in the first one.
oh yeah, that actually like make it more engaging. Yeah. Um, I think because I know like staggering was like a big part of it,
Yeah,
and like honestly, I always felt kind of annoyed by that. Where like sometimes it felt like even fighting like regular enemies was like a chore
it
because of that.
yeah,
Like
it was okay at first, but it became annoying maybe later on. Yeah,
yeah, like I think like to me the Final Fantasy VII remake is like a better version of like ideas 13 had
yeah,
in terms of like you stagger enemies in that game, but I feel
true.
like I feel like staggering enemies really only matters like with certain enemies and then especially bosses. But I feel like if you're just trying to like get through an area, you can like slice and kill like regular enemies fairly quickly. Whereas like 13, sometimes it was annoying about
Yeah,
that.
true.
Um, and I think I think changing that, and I think they need to change. They need to adapt some of the battle changes that 13 had. Whereas like letting you change who the leader is, or if the leader dies, it just switches to another
Yeah. Oh,
character instead of
yeah.
it being game
Oh
over.
God, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I think there needs to be quality of life changes basically.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Like I don't really have much to say
Yeah.
about like a port.
Okay.
Um, like 13 is really the only obvious like besides I guess
A full
the
collection
Final
of the
Fantasy.
yeah.
Yeah, like besides the collection and porting, like they've been really bad at like porting like classic games to current system.
Yeah.
Like like Tomb Raider, which I mentioned before. I personally would want like a Crash style type of like remaster for like Tomb Raider, but like I think there would be people happy with them just like porting the old games to current gen and just that's it, like so
Well, it
I think they need
depends.
to do things like that as
Remember
well.
that that company that entered with a deal with Square
Oh
Enix
yeah.
to do the remasters of an unknown IP.
Oh yeah, I
The
forgot about that.
developers of the Panzer Dragoon games. I think Tomb Raider might be a possibility. Don't you think?
Well, I agree, but I think the only thing that concerns me is that I heard people talking about, and not just even on Era, but I heard people talking about the people like this studio or like company, and
I
people were
think they're
saying like they
called
didn't like.
Forever Entertainment. That's their
Okay,
name.
yeah, and people were saying they didn't like the games, like
Pa-
I guess their version of like remakes and remasters.
yeah,
So
Panzer
that's like the
Dragoon.
only
Yeah,
like concerning thing. Yeah, like they were saying it was like worse or something. So that's the really main concern that I would have from like what I've heard about them.
mm. Yeah.
So,
There's
but I
there's
don't know if
always a
those are
risk
fans being nitpicky.
when you're contracting a third party to remake your games. That's always a risk. I think
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah,
Unless it's Blue Point, then you don't have to worry about anything.
yeah. So I guess we'll see. That's a really good point. Like I always forget about that until somebody like brings it up, and it's like, oh yeah, like that is a thing.
Yeah,
So we might see that at E3. So who knows?
yeah, we'll see.
Um, well, I guess you mentioned that what was it, the Tokyo
Yeah,
RPG
a
Factory or
new
something?
Tokyo RPG Factory game. I have nothing to say about this. I never played a single Tokyo
Me
RPG
either.
Factory game. I know their all their games have been pretty mediocre. The reception has never been really great. Uh,
Hmm.
I just think it's time for their new game to show up. That's it. I have nothing more to add.
Yeah, you basically said anything I was gonna say. I've never played any of their games. Whenever I hear about him, it's just people kind of expressing disappointment.
Yes.
It kind of sounds like people might be placing too much expectations on like a
Yeah,
small like
they're small and they're putting out games pretty rapidly. I think every 2 years they're releasing games, so at least they're consistent
mm-hmm.
in their and their quality too, which is not great.
Okay. Yeah, like I don't know. To me, it kind of just feels like people are expecting like Final Fantasy VI and like Chrono
Yeah,
Trigger
no,
like
they're
quality from these people, which never made sense. So, anyway,
yeah
so, well, I guess the last one for
is
me
yeah
is hits about the 30th anniversary for Final Fantasy.
okay
Yeah, I feel like we kind of talked about that. Like we weaved other stories
yeah
into this. So I don't have really much to say, but it's next year. So
we've talked about Origin and the potential collection, so I think that's pretty
yeah,
much
like
it.
like I just think that like I think we'll just get like hints that like them saying like yeah like we're aware like stay tuned for like more stuff and like Origins is kind of I think Origins will be like the big game that's like really like for the anniversary and then I hope that like
Yeah.
um I think when I don't know if I elaborated on it or maybe I accidentally skipped. Yeah, I think I might have accidentally skipped my own point about when I said that I mentioned wanting some type of Final Fantasy spinoff, and obviously Origins is that, but it's like that's not what I want. Like, I'm
Yeah,
excited for it, but that's not what I want when I say that. Like, I want, like, give me, like, World of Final Fantasy 2, or,
there it
like, give me
is.
another, like,
Yeah.
theater rhythm or something.
Mm.
So,
Maybe it's. I don't think it's out of the question just yet.
hmm.
Even if they said that they wanted the first World of Final Fantasy to do better before thinking about a sequel. They
Hmm.
were basically saying, please buy the first game. So it's never a good
Yeah.
sign, but I still think it might happen.
Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, the director said when, like, I think the Switch port came out, I think he was saying, like, how Maxima does, I think, will
Yeah.
determine if it gets a, like, sequel or not. And I don't know how it did. I just know that, like, I think it might have been before Maxima. They, like, in Japan, and I think only, they had, like,
The
some
mobile
Word of
game.
Final Fantasy, like, mobile game. I don't
Mm.
know, like, I don't know anything out about it
Me
aside from
neither.
that, but
Yeah.
I don't think it lasted long, which I don't think is a good sign either. Like, if
Well,
you can't even
I
have,
I think it's still going actually. I
oh,
didn't
it is.
hear
I thought
that
it was
stuff.
dead.
Well, they killed a lot of their mobile games. I just didn't hear about this one. Maybe it's dead.
Cause I know there's like another, like, Japan only Final Fantasy game that's mobile, and it uses, like, the art style of, like, World of Final Fantasy, but it's
Oh,
not a World of Final Fantasy, like, mobile game.
oh,
So you could be thinking of that one. I thought the World of Final Fantasy one was dead, but I could be wrong too. But I just wanted to put it out there that, like, there is one that uses, like, the art
yeah,
style, or, like,
yeah.
pictures of the characters. I
Mm.
don't know why they use World of Final Fantasy, but they do.
Mm.
So, but I just wanted to put that out there. Is that I want another theater rhythms
I
created
actually
for, like,
want that too. Yeah, I
yeah, like,
would be cool.
yeah, like, there's a lot of new music, like, just 14 in general. Like, you could have, like, various music from, like, just
Yes.
each expansion alone, and, 15. um it's time. But I remember somebody on Era said that apparently, like, Theater Rhythm didn't really do great, which, if
Well,
so, that sucks.
well, on what platforms did it release? Was it
It was
on
just the
other than mobile?
3DS.
Oh, 3DS. Well,
Yeah, like, the first two was 3DS, and then it has, I think, like, an arcade game in, like, Japan or something. That's,
arcade.
I think it's still, yeah, like, I think it's either it's either an arcade or, like, mobile Japan exclusive game. That's, like, I think it's still ongoing.
Yeah, then I don't think it really matters if it did well or not. If it was just on 3DS, I think if they want to give it a try on other consoles, they should just go ahead and see how it does on consoles people actually have.
Yeah, because after Melodies of Memory, I think it would just be weird if, like, they
Well,
just did a rhythm
have
game
it
for
have
Kingdom
it on
Hearts.
Switch. It would be great for Switch.
Well, yeah, like, Melodies in Memory was on Switch, PS4.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on Xbox, but it probably was. Um, so it's like, why not? Like, why not make, like, a new Theat Rhythm? So,
Yeah.
but that was it, at least on my end.
Okay.
Your last point?
Babylon's Fall. And yeah, I know it's also been recently. Someone, I think, on Reset Era also maybe hinted it might be there or said something, but I already had it on my list, I swear. It was before.
You're good.
Yeah. I also don't have much to say about it. We haven't seen much of it, but I think it will be there because it's time. It's been since 2018 since we last seen it,
Hmm.
And then they even said that it was releasing in 2019. So there's definitely something going on there, and I'm hoping they can show it.
Yeah.
You're not really excited about it, right?
No.
I can
Like
feel that.
I'm gonna be very honest.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think like when it was first announced and it was like platinum. I was like, oh, platinum and Square E again.
And then
And
you
then they
saw
showed it.
yes.
And I think everybody kind of like, or the majority of people, the hype kind of died.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
fine.
think platinum in general, I think are kind of spreading themselves too thin.
Right, like there's that little game they should show as well called Bayonetta. Yeah, where is that game?
We just don't know.
Yeah, is there anything else they're working on?
I feel like
there was that game that was taken away from them, right?
Which one?
Fantasy Link or something.
I think I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, they should go easy on themselves. Like, if they're
Because like the last hit they had was that Switch game, right? Like the robots. You're like a cop. Like Arnold.
yeah.
Like what was it? It's something Chain.
Astral Chain. Yeah.
Yeah, Astral Chain. Like I knew it started with an A, but I couldn't remember. Yeah.
And they also have a few other games, not for other companies, for themselves, and they have a kaiju game, and like go easy. Yeah, like you're not really a big company with 1 million dev, like you said, spreading themselves too thin.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just kind of makes me like I know people have said like Bayonetta isn't in like that worry phase. Like as of right now, it technically has had like the same length of like dev time as like the other ones.
Yeah,
but
they've showed nothing.
I really
that's the only problem.
They've shown nothing, and I don't expect to see it this year either.
Yeah.
And so people are like, well, next year is when we should get worried. But it's like, I don't see this game. Like, I don't think they're like secretly holding this game off because of like the rumored Switch Pro. It's like Breath of the Wild has been like, the sequel to Breath of the Wild has been shown before this game.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so, and I think the sequel to Breath of the Wild will release before we even see another Bayonetta 3. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I guess that's my downer. Like, if I have like one moment of like big downer,
we switch to a Nintendo podcast for a second there. It's okay.
Yeah, like if I have a moment to be like downer this episode, like that's how I feel about Bayonetta 3, where it's like I'm so down on Bayonetta 3 that I think Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild released in 2017, and I think Bayo 3 got shown at the end of 2017. So. Yeah.
Well, we'll probably see more of Breath of the Wild 2 this E3. I think we should.
Yeah, especially with the rumored like Switch Pro stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we'll get a new Nier announcement? I didn't put anything Nier related on my list. Just was curious to know if you think we'll see something.
No, but I think like I don't have the same feelings about Nier as other people do.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, we've talked about
I
Tokyo RPG Factory, so no one cares about. Sorry, not no one. We, me and you, we don't care about it.
well, it's not even. I guess it's just kind of like I won't get into it, but just like with the the director stuff, I know people have been like curious what he's been doing.
Yeah.
So I think like is he on Origin
Aha.
or is he
That's
doing
my.
or is
That's
he?
what That's what I was thinking, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yoko Taro. It would be. It would fit, I guess. And
Mhm.
the music, if it's the near composer Okabe, it would also
Oh, it'd
make.
be great.
It would
Yeah.
also make sense. I love his
Mhm.
work. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. Just saying, could happen.
Yeah, it could happen. Cause I don't know. Cause I mean there's cause I guess even just jumping to 16. Like, who did you think would be like the producer? Like, or did you really
Oh, I
have any
knew.
expectations?
Oh yeah, I had
Oh,
my
you.
list, and I posted it on Reset Era. It was mostly accurate based on what people they took off Heaven's Word in
Mhm.
2016. So I had Yoshida as a producer.
Mhm.
I got the director correctly,
Okay.
and but I didn't go as far as putting Soken as the composer because I thought he had his hands full with 14. So
Mhm.
I think I put the Okabe at the time. It won't be Okabe. I
Mhm.
think it's Soken, but yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Because I think you know like I'm not gonna sit and pretend like I know like the entire like who's who at like Square Enix and stuff like that. So and I do feel like they've been making a lot I guess a bigger effort to like use names that like aren't household names, quote unquote, which I think is a good thing. So I feel like with Origin it could go either way. Of like
Imagine if
it,
it's
it could
Ito.
be oh say that again, I'm sorry.
Imagine if it's Hiroyuki Ito. And that would be
that would be wild.
something.
That would be wild. That would be wild. Like finally, he's
Yeah.
out of the closet, out of the janitor's closet. I mean, I think I would be okay whoever it is. I'm just
Yeah.
curious of like, who they
Maybe
would pick to
it's
be on
just
that.
a director from Team Ninja. It could be as
Yeah, that's true.
simple as that.
I think the only just to play devil's advocate, I think my only argument against that would just be that like even when a game is outsourced, they've always had like I won't say always, but they seem to have mostly
Yeah.
had somebody from internally at Square Enix, like
Yes.
in like the
Even
director's chair
even
or
the
something like
Quiet Man was directed by someone at Square Enix.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
yeah. And Dissidia and T was the
Yes,
same. Like
you're right.
um,
And
World of Final Fantasy was
and
outsourced, but still directed
especially if
internally.
since it's a Final Fantasy, I'm hoping it's someone uh, in house or yeah, Yoko Taro. Why not? Would be
Yeah.
cool.
So well, we've come to the most exciting point
Ooh,
of the episode
yes.
where we have to reveal
The crazy
what
prediction.
exactly.
All right.
So,
There will be a bet. We'll decide maybe after the podcast
yes.
what the conditions are, but you go ahead. What's yours?
Well, considering yours seems not even a video game, mine is
Mm-mm,
probably boring
mm-mm.
in comparison. But I put a Chrono Trigger remake.
Oh man, I love that.
Yeah.
It'll never
Yeah, like
happen, but
it'll
it
never
breaks my
happen, but that's
heart,
what I
but it will never happen.
it'll never happen.
Oh no,
But
now I'm
I
sad.
think yeah, I think like I played Dragon Quest 11 for the first time this year,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it. And like seeing that style,
Mm-hmm.
like the artist is,
Yes.
the famous Toriyama, like we all know who it is. Um, and just seeing that and
Would be
like,
great. Yeah.
yeah, like just I don't know, like I just it just wouldn't leave my head, bro. It's like it's right there. You have like because
A
Dragon
lot of
Quest
things
11.
are right there, but Square Enix, man, they're just happy to just look at them sitting right there and not do anything about it. Like
But it's like,
Xenogears, for example, man.
yeah, it's
Another
just,
remake I really want.
yeah, and I think because Dragon Quest 11, that's like the Unreal Engine 4, right?
Uh, it's Unreal Engine. I'm not sure it's 4.
Okay, okay.
Maybe,
Well,
maybe.
okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't. I didn't think it was like a custom engine or anything. So
Yeah,
like, it
and
just felt like it would be easier
and
compared to like.
we learned like a few days ago that 12 was going to be on Unreal Engine 5.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know. Like I just obviously like Square Enix is not a company with like infinite resources. Like even when
They're
Origins.
definitely not, but they got bigger in the last few years. In
Mhm.
2016, they had around 4,000 employees. In 2020, they had 5,000.
Yeah, like they're clearly growing,
Yeah.
and they're um, and so I guess I just feel like I don't know how you feel about what I'm about to say, but I personally don't see like I don't think we'll ever get like a remake of like any type of game or
Like
like
7?
a part of an IP like Seven,
No.
but yeah, like that'll never happen. Like we're not gonna get like multiple parts,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the only reason the multiple parts format of Seven works is because they're kind of like it's not a straight remake,
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of they could use that as an excuse, but I do feel like I just can't see them being like, all right, we did one remake, like, or one big remake, deuces. Like, we're not gonna do like any type
I
of AAA remake
I
again.
think
So
it will all depend on how the next parts will do, because I think they were expecting the first part to do really well, and it did. They'll have to see maybe part 2 or 3 if they perform better than they expect, then maybe.
well, that's funny you say that because I actually got the opposite like feeling of like it kind of felt as like they had not low expectations for part one, but it didn't seem like they thought it was going to make as much money as it
Oh
did
yeah,
because
no, total. I think they said that it performed better than they thought it would, right?
yeah, and you know there's like the whole conversation of like, oh, like Seven remake hasn't sold more than like 15 and it's supposed to be like the biggest game, but I think there's other factors to like explain that. um One, it being multiple parts, and there
Sure.
are people who are like confused. Like I know someone
Not
like,
confused, maybe just waiting for the rest.
well, waiting, but I also do know, like I did know someone like who was like, yeah, my sister's waiting because she heard it was episodic, and it's like that was last year that like people are still thinking it's like episodic, like a Telltale game or something like that.
Oh.
Um,
Well,
yeah, so I feel like that whole thing. And like you said, there are people who are just waiting, like they don't want to like
yeah.
have to wait in between parts and stuff like that. So and then my personal hot take is that I think like a Final Fantasy VII remake should have been like The Witcher 3 of like JRPGs. But I ain't gonna get into
Oh.
that. That's how I feel about it. Like I kind of feel
This
like,
would, I mean, this discussion would take a whole podcast.
yeah, like maybe that should be like an episode of like our
Yes.
like how Like, how do you think like it really should have went? Like,
Uh, I
that's my hot
I
take.
my the short version, they couldn't have, at the scale that part one was, it it it, it was they couldn't have done it any other way. I think it was the only way.
I guess
They don't have the manpower. They
I agree,
simply
but I
don't.
also feel like the scale of the first part, I
Yeah.
think they made things bigger than they had to be,
Well,
and it didn't have like the.
they
Go
did
ahead.
they did because it was only set in Midgar for that reason. If they wanted to expand the part one beyond Midgar, it would have taken as much work as making it the full game. So as long as it was just Midgar for them, they had to add other stuff. That's what I think.
Yeah, I guess like the issue for me is that I kind of feel like Midgar itself. Like I just walked away from the game feeling like I didn't get anything of substance from it. Like maybe that's like a harsh like take on
Yeah, no,
it,
I
but
get
that's
it.
just like
Like
it just
maybe you
yeah like
wanted
it just felt
Midgard to even be expanded more than that.
like yeah, because I guess for me like when people say Midgar is expanded, to me it just feels like Midgar, but like
Expanded, but within reason.
well it to me it just felt like it's the original game, but just like it's HD, but it's not. To me, it didn't feel like expanded in like any like I don't know. Like I just didn't think it was expanded. Like to me, it just felt like a one to one. Like this is it in HD, and I know that that sounds like trivializing it, but
Yeah.
I guess I just felt like nothing about it really. Like I just walked away where I just felt like you could cut a lot of this game, and it really didn't need to be like
Yeah.
one full part. Like
The
that's just I guess how I felt about it.
I think what was bloated about the game was
Mm-hmm.
stuff that was artificially expanded to have a longer game. That's what all
Yeah.
companies do. And it the what's they do that because it doesn't take a lot of work from them. Like they already have the assets, and
Mm-hmm.
they just have to expand. Like they expanded the sewers, for example. Like the
Yeah.
sewers were already there. Let's take the player back there and have the game be longer.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they did it. I I don't think that if they would have cut that part of the first game, it would have helped them make a bigger game and make it a whole game like the original. You see what I mean? The stuff they expanded, they could expand because it didn't require much work
Mm-hmm.
to do the full game, like The Witcher 3 or any Ubisoft game. You'd have to throw 2,000 people on a single game, and to have it out
Yeah.
by in 4 to 5 years, and that's being generous. Square Enix
Yeah.
just can't do that. Like they have
Yeah.
multiple IPs. They have to cater to tens, a lot of fan bases, and they just can't throw half of their workforce on a single game, even if that game is Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. I guess my concern is that like before like this game even released, we kind of just went on like a whole tangent. It's
Yeah,
not
I told you
related,
it
but
would take this discussion would take a whole podcast.
yeah.
I do it if you want. I
No, that's fine. No, I like the discussion.
Yeah.
As I guess my thing is like before the game was released, you know, people are like, Utah is like an entire country, and it's like, well, yeah, but
Mm.
we're not gonna get like an entire country in a game. Like
No,
it's
no,
like I think it will be bigger than like
for
I
sure.
think it won't be like a town like the OG
Even
was, but
yeah, it can be. In the original, Nibelheim was like two backgrounds. It it
Yeah.
takes no work. But imagine Nibelheim in the remake. How much work it will take? Like,
Yeah. Um, and I think like it is a very complicated like subject. Like I'm not trying
yeah,
to like trivialize like the work that the devs do and stuff like that. But um, I guess for me this kind of it ties back into like the town stuff of like
the hearts.
how much
Yes.
yeah like building a world, and I guess it's just like I feel like people keep waiting for like that moment of like that, if you played Final Fantasy as a kid or as a teenager and like you play like the PS1 era games and like that feeling of like traversing the world map and like
Yeah.
going to town, and I think people keep waiting for that moment of like when are we gonna get that
I
of like
think
really traversing the
I
world.
I stopped having those expectations after playing 10, which
Yeah, and
that was my only disappointment in 10, which was a great game, but like traveling from one point to another just by selecting a menu, that was when I knew that
yeah.
like these modern games are going to be like that for a while.
Yeah, and I think like you always see it on like forums and stuff, and I think for me it's like I don't think that's gonna ever happen. like, like I think
Well,
I think I probably have a more jaded look on you about part two of like the remake of like the
no,
open world
no,
and stuff.
I don't expect it expect expect it to be that expanded. Not
Yeah,
some people are hoping it will be open world. I don't think that will be the case, honestly.
like I think it would be like semi open world
Yeah,
at
yeah,
best.
that's more
Yeah,
realistic,
like that's
definitely.
yeah. Yeah. So like and I guess for me it's like I don't know, I guess it's just kind of sad to realize of like,
Mm.
when I played The Witcher 3 and you think of like
Again with The Witcher
Geralt.
3.
I know, you
You
that's
won't, don't
just
get
that's
me
my game of
started. I know,
that's
I
my
know.
that's my game of the generation.
Oh
I'm going to speak
man,
my truth, all
it's
right?
okay.
So
It's okay.
like but I'm just saying like it took me a while to appreciate that game, and like
I know.
you know,
And
there's like the issues.
I
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
recently heard that the world the open world actually is better in the DLCs. So it kind of got me excited, and maybe you should be too if you're planning to play
I
them.
played them.
Oh,
Yeah, I played them.
when
Yeah,
you said you didn't?
like last year. Yeah, like in
Oh, okay,
quarantine. Yeah,
recently. All right.
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah, yeah.
I'm kind of
I
excited to go back. So if it's to see if it's true.
yeah, like I before um the show came out. I think either before or after the show came out. I think it
It's
kind of got me in like a Witcher mood, and I
yeah.
decided to like replay
That's
the
when I
game. And
played.
like the first time
Yeah, that's when I
yeah, that's
played
when
the
you
base
played it.
game
Yeah,
because of the
yeah,
series.
and
Yes.
yeah, and you know how like there's all the icons on the map, and the first
I
time I
know.
played it,
Yeah.
I found that yeah, it's a lot. It overwhelmed me, and
Mm.
so I kind of ignored them,
Yeah.
and then I really only did like big side quests in like Novigrad and like Skillage.
Yeah.
So
Skellige.
when yeah, or I'm probably saying it wrong. Skillige, yeah, I don't know.
Skellige.
It's been a while,
It's fine.
but the so the second time I replayed it, I did like basically like everything, like all the question marks and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and then I went and played like Heart and Stone, or like Heart of like what is it, Heart of Stone or Heart and Stone? I can't remember.
Forgot.
I think it's Heart of Stone. Yeah, like I think it's Heart of Stone, and then
Blood and Wine.
Blood and Wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of like stopped playing the game. I think in like 2019, and then during quarantine, I picked it back up and like
All of
finished
them?
everything. Yeah, like I did. Yeah, like I finished replaying the base game,
Oh,
and then
nice.
I started. Well, I think I looked up like the best order to play them. So I think I played Heart of Stone before I beat the game,
Well, you'll
and then
you'll
after I beat the
you'll
game,
have to let
I
me
did
know.
Blood and
Maybe
Wine.
maybe I'll need it soon.
Yeah, like it's. I don't think it's really a big deal. Like I think there's maybe like some subtle changes. Like I
Yeah,
definitely think Blood of Wine. Like you play Blood of Wine like after you beat the game, just because of like
the Blood
it's
Baron.
kind of like a farewell to like The Witcher in a way. So
Oh, okay, interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Like it's nice. Like the only thing I'll say is that if you don't like giant spiders,
I'm
I
fine.
found
I'm
out
fine.
that
I'm fine.
okay, then you're good. But like yeah, one of
So
the expansions like
it's
introduces like
okay.
giant spiders on the map. I don't like
Thanks
that,
for
so
the
I ran
warning.
away.
I'm fine.
Okay, cool. But I enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy
Great,
trying to get into it
great.
again. But to get to I got sidetracked. But the reason I even brought up like I don't know, there's just something really nice about like Geralt gets in a boat and he can like swim he can row anywhere,
Yeah,
and I think it's like it would be nice to have that experience in Final Fantasy. You know,
yeah.
yeah, I know like there's like the many villages and like The Witcher 3 that look the same and stuff like that, but like I liked how Novigrad like I was okay with Novigrad kind of being like the big place where there was that was more unique, and then there was like the whole islands and
Yeah.
stuff. I'm sure Final Fantasy fans might not like that, and I like my varied locations too. But I think at some point there has to be like
Mm.
a compromise. Like they just need to figure something out to be able to like deliver like an interesting world and making it interesting to actual travel and explore.
Well,
That's my thing.
who knows? Maybe it will be in 16.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And speaking of 16,
mm-hmm.
my crazy prediction. Can I talk about it now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So 16 will have a second main protagonist, a female protagonist, and we'll be able to customize both of them, like their appearance and stuff, like in Mass Effect games. That's it.
Wait, so you think that like when you say both of them, you mean Clive too?
Yeah,
But like, what if somebody wanted to make Clive black?
they maybe they could.
I think the only thing I'll say to that, I wouldn't. I guess I wouldn't hate it, but my thing is, unless the family like Clive, since he has a family, like unless the family changes with him, then no, because
Unless
that's
the what?
like unless the family like changes appearances along with him, then no, because I
What
don't.
what was his family?
Like Clive, like Joshua's his brother, like his biological brother, and
Oh,
he has like a dad and stuff. So
you didn't think about that. But um mm,
and I mean the tech is possible. Other games have done that. So
yeah, I was thinking like a little bit like Mass Effect. Like they have
mm,
uh, the male protagonist and the female protagonist on their cover, but you can customize them, right?
I mean you can, but the only game to like Mass Effect Andromeda has it that like your main character is a twin, and like
Okay.
you have a dad in the story, and like when you create a character, it adjusts your family members to the created character,
All right.
so they look like them. And then in Dragon Age 2, which I actually I played for the first time this year,
Okay.
based on like the preface you use, and I mean you can alter the preface too, but like they have certain prefaces and like the skin tones, and based on that, there's like a set of prefaces for the family, and like they're like so like if you have like a browner or I guess like a preface is more clearly like a brown or black,
Yeah.
like hawk, then
I
your family changes. The
think
presets change to
I
that.
think Comrades had something like that. 15.
So, I guess the only reason that I don't think they would do that is just because of
Look,
like.
it's a crazy prediction. That's what
No, I know it's a crazy
it
prediction.
will
I guess
never.
I'm just trying to like.
I'm sticking with it. I think there will be a second main protagonist, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how they will open up with her, with the second protagonist, which will
Well,
be female. That's
well,
my
no,
crazy
like
prediction. Yeah.
you have a crazy prediction. You gotta like justify it. So you have to like, so because it's like I don't think like to me I feel like Final Fantasy using like a creator character as like the protag like I know people have mixed feelings about it, and
Well,
I sometimes
to be
I'm on
fair,
the fence about it myself.
I,
Uh huh.
I, I wrote this one before we knew about Origin, which will probably have a character creator. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now I'm not so sure about it, but I decided to leave it anyway. So
Well, I guess
there,
I'm curious. Like, why do you think Clive, like, even just ignoring like a second protagonist, like, because I feel like when creative characters, they usually don't make art of them. Like, it's
well,
always like
don't
like a
you won't
helmet and stuff like that.
I I might be misremembering, but couldn't you customize Shepard's appearance in the first Mass Effects?
I mean, you could, like, you definitely could, but I kind of feel like yeah, and like he was on the cover, and then they had like
Yeah.
the design for like female shepherd that became official. But I feel like even Bioware they stopped doing that. Like for Dragon Age and like
All right.
Mass Effect Andromeda, they just make it gender neutral now. Like they just have like the person is like always in a helmet.
Oh,
Um, like even with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, they made it gender neutral, where like it's
uh,
just Shepard in the helmet.
it would be
So
like in like Derplander in 14. He has
yeah,
official
that's true.
renders
Yeah,
and artwork.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I'm keeping it, man. That's mine. I don't I
Yeah,
didn't prepare a second
yeah.
one, so this is mine. Okay.
No, no, because I mean, you were like Chrono Trigger was never gonna happen, and I was like, yeah. So we both were like, no to each other's ideas. So,
Okay.
so to be, so, so I think we both gotta like shut down
It's
each
fine.
other's dreams.
It's fair game. All right.
But
Okay. All right.
but I guess in my head it's like I was just trying to work out the logic of it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I
My logic
so
wasn't tight, I guess.
no, no, it's fine. I was just because I was just thinking I was like because I'm like he has a white brother like because like the reason I brought it up was because I replayed Dragon Age Origins and I created my character and she was brown and I chose like my origin story like she was a part of this she was like a human
Yeah.
noble part of this family and as soon as it starts this guy talks up and he's like hello daughter and it's like this super white guy and I'm like oh they don't I guess for the tech at that time, maybe they
Mm,
couldn't do it, but like the
yeah.
family doesn't like change. So, so
Yeah.
I'm like having this super white
Well,
family, and yeah.
are we sure Joshua is like his real brother, not sworn brother or something like that?
No, it's like the based on the description, it kind of seemed like because they mentioned that's
Weren't people theorizing that he might be like the Jon Snow
uh,
of the game?
well with the Jon Snow the thing is that Jon Snow is like depicted as like a bastard of Ned Stark, but then
Yeah,
you learn like, oh, the twist is like he's not a bastard. He's
yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's his nephew, but I think when most people were saying that, I don't think they were like thinking of it like the twist. Like I think they were like legit saying like, oh, he's like a bastard son. Like literally, like they are biological brothers, but
Mm.
he ain't. He ain't like the prince or anything, you know. And then the website information came out, and it said that like Clive was expected to be the Phoenix Dominant, but it passed to his little brother. So it's like, well, if
Oh,
everybody was expecting it to
yeah,
be
yeah,
Clive, then it's like they have to be biological brothers then.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. Who
But
knows?
I will say,
It
if
is
everybody
crazy.
expected it to be Clive to be the dominant, but it passed him, then that does leave room to be like, well, is Clive biologically related? Just putting that out there. Like maybe the reason
Hmm.
he is skipped him because he ain't, they ain't really biological brothers or something, or like
Hmm.
maybe he's not like the Duke's
See,
son really, but
see, yeah.
I don't know. Just pointing that out there. So
It's gonna work out. I'm sure.
yeah, but all right. So I had Chrono Trigger, and then you had
Uh,
a female protagonist.
yeah. Second main protagonist, the female one,
Uh-huh.
and they will be both customizable, maybe to some degree, maybe
Mm-hmm.
not. But I'm sticking with it. We'll see.
Yeah, you gotta stand. You gotta stand. You have to stand your truth. That'd be crazy if it turned
Yes,
out.
yes. That's the point.
Even if it wasn't like the second, if there was not a second protagonist, and Clive himself was just a creative character, or like you could change him, that'd be crazy, and I would give you props for that.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, well, this has been a very
A, a
a
longer
very long first.
podcast than expected. Yes.
Yes. Well, I think we kind of expected it. We were trying to like be like, well, maybe it won't be that long, but it was that long. So,
Yes.
um, but I mean, it's E3 season, so
It won't
you
happen
you
again.
gotta be hyped.
Promise.
It will, or it will, or it won't.
It won't. No.
I don't
Without
know.
without E3, I guess we won't have that much to talk about.
I mean, I could really only see like the post E3 show,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
especially if
yeah, yeah. You're
like post
right.
E3. And then like maybe like a spoiler podcast for like 16 when it drops and we play it. Like those are the
Yes.
only ones I could see being like this long. Yeah. So
True.
all right then. Well, I had a great time talking to
Same.
you today, Joe.
Same here.
Yes. And I hope the people who end up listening to this, if you're still around after like 2+ hours,
Yeah.
we appreciate you sticking with us for this long.
Yep.
And we hope that you join us for future episodes of the podcast. This is kind of just a thing we're doing for fun and seeing how it goes. And you can check us out on Spotify, SoundCloud, and then like iTunes. Is there anyone I'm missing, Joe?
We'll see. I haven't worked that out yet. Maybe not
Okay.
SoundCloud, but the rest, yeah,
Oh, not
probably.
SoundCloud?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well then, not SoundCloud. Ignore
Yeah.
that. But we'll be on,
On the one that
at least
matters. Yes.
the one that matters to you.
Yeah.
And if it just happens to be SoundCloud,
We're sorry. Like get Spotify or something. Come on.
Yes. And you can listen to Spotify free with ads, And if you have
True.
if you get an Apple account, then iTunes and stuff is free. So all right then. Well then we'll probably be doing an episode like a month from now. I think after
Yeah.
E3.
Yep.
So we'll see you guys then. Goodbye.
Bye.